All right. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of DC's Real Talk. I want to thank you for your support and helping me continue to do this podcast. I am now on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube as well. And I also have the website, www.dcsrealtalk.com. Please come to the episode or to the website for past guests, future guests, and links to all episodes. Please give me a follow, a like, or a review. And as always, if you have somebody you would like to be on, or you know that you would like to be on the podcast, please reach out to me so that way I can make that happen. And also, as always, if you have any ideas or suggestions on how I can make this better, please let me know that as well. So with that being said, I got a guest on tonight that I've known for a little while. I'll go ahead and let him introduce himself to you guys. But DJ, tell us a little bit about you.
All right, my name is DJ French. I'm the owner of DJ's Detailing and Automotive Revival. And then I also help out around the shop. Should I say around the shop?
That works. First edit.
All right, so we'll go. Should we start that over?
Sure, go for it.
My name is DJ French. I'm the owner and CEO of DJ's Detailing and Automotive Revival. I also help out my dad. We run a supplement and smoothie shop in Lee Summit, Missouri, just right off 1622 Southeast Blue Parkway. It's called Advanced Nutrition. We do smoothies, supplements, acai bowls, whatever you're into fitness-wise, we got it.
All righty.
Yep.
Well, and just so people kind of know how I met DJ, first initially met you at said smoothie shop, Advanced Nutrition. And, again, I've worked out forever. Smoothies everywhere. This guy's smoothies, take it from me, they're significantly better than everybody else's. Prices are damn good. Like he said, proteins, whatever you need, they got them. Also, they know their stuff. So if you are looking for supplements, they can take it, help you on that aspect. But, originally kind of met DJ and just talked to him. Found out he's a Raiders fan. So, that's not good.
It's more of a curse than anything.
But, yeah. And then also just found out we were car guys and had a couple mutual buddies, Pete and a couple of those guys. And that's how he was telling me about his detail shop and, and about how he was getting that started. So just thought, hey, perfect dude to have on and, kind of let him talk about why he got started in that. And then also about the nutrition stuff, help both.
Yeah.
But so which one you want to talk about first?
Let's get into detailing.
Okay. So obviously car guy.
Yep.
What made you decide to do detailing? How did you get into it? Have you always done it? What's up?
So honestly, detailing has been something that's always been kind of a passion of mine. It started whenever I was young, just always seeing my dad and my uncle, honestly, my whole family, they always kept a high priority on keeping their cars clean. So that was just always something that popped out to me. Like anytime my uncle went out on like a Friday night or Saturday night, or my dad was going out, whatever it may be, anytime they would just always have clean cars. And they'd always make it a priority, like, Saturday morning, Sunday morning, just keep their cars clean. So that was just always something that's been at the forefront of my mind. My dad's always had hot rods, and that's part of that culture too. Yeah. So right now he has I believe it's a 69 Nova, got a big blower on it. Yeah, it's a big drag car, got the parachute and everything.
Oh, dang, yeah, so
got the Yenko on the side.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just always been something that's been like a priority of mine. So I figured, why not try to make some money off of that? I never realized how big of a market there was for it until I finally started diving into it. I'm like, okay, this is something I could really do. So I started posting on Snapchat and just kind of feeling it out. I was like, hey, I'm going to be detailing next summer, next spring, whatever it may be. Like, hit me up if you need a detail. Slowly, more and more people just start bringing it in, and then word of mouth just keeps coming. So that's really where it started for me, was just my love of all of that detailing. And then honestly, here the past few years, it's just been a huge YouTube culture of detailing.
For sure.
Which that's a whole separate culture. So that's kind of like there is the YouTube detailing culture, but at the same time, there's a certain aspect of it that's not really realistic for if you're trying to run a detailing business.
Okay. Like what? Like what would be a huge misconception?
Just some of the processes that they do throughout YouTube detailing. Like I said, I keep something that's a big priority to me is using like premium products and just kind of the market that I'm going for. They don't teach you much about branding from that aspect. It's basically like, oh, just hop in this car, get a bunch of super clean, wipe down the whole car, and then you're good to go. Whereas like I try to specifically use the best products I can find. I'm not going to just use degreasers on any panels. Every car is kind of different. I take a different approach for each car depending on how dirty it is, what type of car, what type of material I'm dealing with, whether it be Alcantara, leather, whatever it may be. So I feel like they don't really teach you they teach you the basis, the groundworks of it, but you really have to dive in and
That's pretty
kind of
cool.
get out in the field and see for yourself. Yeah.
So just random story, but with you mentioning your dad's Nova.
Yeah.
So my dad and I were at Meekum Car Auction at Bartle Hall, and they had and my dad loves old school Chevy stuff. My grandpa worked for him for 40 years or whatever it is. And so they had this 72 Nova. And I mean, this thing was dope. Bright orange. The dude had basically made it like a resto mod. And it went through the auction, didn't sell. And so my dad and I were sitting there looking at it. And my dad's like, hell, I mean, I'd offer this guy something for it. And this guy next to us is like, what would you offer for it? My dad's like, I don't know, give him $9,000 or what? I don't remember the number. And the guy's like, well, actually, it's my car. And if you'll really give me that, you can have it. So my dad's like, all right. So dad buys this Nova. Well, at the time, he didn't have time to put it at his house. So we kept it at mine. So I was like, hell yeah, so I can drive it. And, but so we didn't drive it very much. Because it turned out since it had been resto modded, it was so nice that we're kind of like, if it gets a chip or whatever. Yeah, and it really wasn't a very good street car. But so I took it to the Walmart right over here, and I park it. And I mean, this thing had straight pipes and the whole shebang. And this guy walks up to me, and he's probably 80 years old. I kid you not, 80 at the youngest. And he comes up to me and he goes, man, that car sounds so damn good. I said, oh, thank you, man. And he goes, the only thing that sounds better than your lady when you're making love is a Nova. I started laughing. This guy 80 years old. I'm like, all right. And he goes, all right, thank you. And he just walked off. And I immediately called my dad. I was like, you're never going to believe the conversation I just had. But so that was hilarious.
And he's like, wait, where'd you take my car?
Right. And I was like, yeah, just a Walmart, but so that was pretty funny. But so what other kind of old cool cars did your old man have back in the day?
Oh man. So whenever I was youngest, he always had S10s, I would say. So he had an 89 S10. And that was the one that I most like vividly remember growing up. It was a burnt orange. I think it was a color off of it was a Plymouth Prowler.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'd say it was that burnt orange that they used to have on
that color.
And he had that one. It had like the 10.5-inch slicks on the back, like a little Mickey Thompson ET. Like
so he's like legit with these cars.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah. It had the cheater system on it, the nitrous cheater system. I think it was like a 350 small block. And I always remember that because the best thing about growing up in Springfield as a kid was they would always have these car cruises. So that's where you're from, Springfield? Yeah. Okay. Yep. So down there, used to have these huge cruises. So they'd have a Street Machines Nationals car show. They'd have that every August. And I just remember after that, there would be this fairgrounds down there. They have a pretty large fairgrounds. It would be filled with cars. I'm talking hot rods, imports, whatever you could name, Lambos, like it's all these cool cars. Well, right as you pull into Springfield and you're going down 13, I believe it turns into maybe Kearney. Yeah,
Kearney's there. And I used to live off of Sunshine in 13.
Yeah, so Sunshine's where they would have all their like just car cruises at that Brahms right there. As soon as you pull off the 13, there would always be cars over there. And they'd have street races.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So I just vividly remember that. And I always remember like we'd be sitting there and he'd like, I remember one time we were out front of a Steak and Shake and there was a Viper. He just kind of got on it with him, and I swear you like neck and neck with this Viper. Yeah, for literally, it was just like a little short run, but it was just, I don't know. That was the truck that I always remember. Just anytime we'd race in there or something like that, or anytime he'd gun, I'd get so excited as a little kid. Yeah. I was just like, man, I loved just hearing the sound of like a small block or something like that.
So with you saying that about Viper, so my dad had the first Viper GTS in the Midwest when it came out in 97.
Really?
And it was blue car, white stripe.
Yeah.
And this is one of those moments that I will literally remember till the day I die. Like I'll be on my deathbed and they'll be like, what's your name? And I'll be like, I have no idea. And I'll be like, but let me tell you this.
Yeah.
And so we took it over to Aristocrat up in Shawnee.
Yeah.
And there's a bridge right by there. And you go under this bridge and then to the left is the entrance ramp. And so that car came out in 97. So I'm 12 years old, whatever. And so we pull out. And so dad pulls into the intersection and just stops. And I was like, what are you doing, Dad? And he's like, oh, the car died. And I'm like, what? And he's like, the car died. And I was like, uh-oh, can you start it? And he's like, it won't start. And so the other light turns green. So the cars start coming at us. And I start freaking out. And I'm like, Dad, we got to go. And Dad drops it in first and is like, Viper, and romps it, dude. and I mean, lights the tires up and just straight up this entrance ramp. And we get straight to the top of the entrance ramp, cop sitting right there.
No.
Yeah. And so, pulls us over, and dad's sitting there. He's like, yeah, your mom's probably got you drive to Kansas City. And the guy literally just got out and he's like, dude, what the hell is this car?
Yeah.
And, because again, it was the first one in the Midwest or whatever it was, very limited.
Yeah.
And the guy basically was just like, dude, I want to look at your car.
So
I
cool.
heard it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I will never forget, because I'm thinking the car's dead. All he had it was in neutral and they just robbed it. But so that was pretty cool. But so Springfield and all that. But okay, so how long did it take you to go from like having one person ask you to do a car, and like how long did that take to slowly build that up?
Honestly, it was pretty quick. So that's the thing about detailing, especially with mobile detailing, just because mobile detailing is such a convenience thing.
Okay, so you drive to them then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So I come to you, and then the biggest thing for me was I was doing, so at the time I was also bartending, just to backtrack a little bit. So when I started, I'm bartending. So I'm also, and I made it a point to everybody that I bartend for, like anybody that even comes into the store, like you can probably ask anybody that's been in the store, like they probably know that I detail. Just
for sure.
I tell everybody.
And that's what you should do.
Yeah, and it's like even if I'm not like telling them business wise, like they're like, oh, what'd you do this week? I was like, oh, I detailed the car. Just kind of slide it in no matter how I can. So even bartending, I've been handing out. I've got business cards. I think I've bought probably 600 business cards since I started, and just hand them out just to anybody I see.
Yep.
So basically I was going through, or I would do a car, I would get a little bit of a break from it, and then I just post it on social media, and I just started trying to be more consistent about posting that I was doing it, and then eventually it just became like a word of mouth thing. I would constantly post. I had a couple like nightmare cars at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I've had I wouldn't say nightmare cars, but just dirtier cars than normal. I don't want these people to get mad. But I've had some bad cars where it's like, okay, man, I got my hands full on this.
Mm-hmm.
So once I got those done, I posted before and after pictures. I'd constantly get people that are like, oh man, this is crazy. And then I'm blessed to have such a strong group of friends that they're always like, they'll always support me, and they're always sharing my photos, and they're like, either they're sharing my photos or they're getting details done by me. Mm-hmm. So that's honestly, it's mostly just been word of mouth. And like I said, I market a little bit on like Facebook and everything. And every once in a while I'll get somebody. I did a Chiefs player a while back, and I spent some money just doing like the Facebook posts and stuff like that, boosting the Facebook posts. And that got me quite a few more eyes on my stuff.
Yeah.
How much it actually converted into actual like people purchasing packages or anything like that, I'm not too sure on. I feel like anytime I do a lot of the Facebook posts, I get a lot of people that they'll like reach out, but they're not truly like, and once you tell them your prices, they're like, oh, whatever it may be.
Well, so with you saying that, like, so I have an Instagram for this podcast, and they're always asking me if I want to boost an episode or whatever. And so a couple weeks ago, I did one with a guy that's doing this thing called the Freedom Project for mental health. I don't know if you listened to it.
No, I saw that one.
Okay, so this dude's story, and I can edit this part out, but since we're talking about your stuff, but basically this guy, his story is insane. He was a nationally ranked soccer player from Africa when he was 10 years old. At 12 years old, him and his best friend go swim in the ocean. He drowns, and he jumps in to save him. They only save him. They never found his best friend's body. And so he starts having like all these mental like anxiety and stuff like that. Well, in Africa, you don't talk to your family members about your emotions. You talk to outside. It's like a culture thing. So he talked to this nationally ranked soccer coach, because he's on the Africa's youth team. Yeah. Well, it turns out the guy ends up raping him, and when he's 12, and he tells his family gets furious that he would even make this up. And so they basically exile him from his family. And so he ends up coming over to America, knows nobody, doesn't speak English, the whole shebang. He randomly picked Kansas City. His first week in Kansas City, he gets beat up, like almost to death, basically, gets mugged. And then he ends up connecting with this other guy in Kansas City that's like, dude, I want to help you. Like, I know that you don't know anybody here, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So this guy becomes his best friend. And then about a year after he's here, that guy drops him off and then goes to get food and bring it back to him. He gets shot and killed by a random drive-by. And so this dude ends up, basically his mental health gets so bad, he can't leave his house. He can't even talk because it messed with him. And so he's starting this project to help people find similar situations, and that kind of stuff. So that's insane. So anyway, back to why I mentioned that is, so Instagram asked me, they said, do you want to boost this post? And I'm like, dude, it's a silly podcast. I do it for fun, you know? And so it said I could boost it for 10 days for 7 days for $10. I was like, for $10, why not? Let's check it out, you know? And so I did that, and I linked it to my website. My website, you know, the dcsrealtalk.com, was averaging like 4 hits a day. After that week of boosting it off Instagram, I now average like 118 hits a day. And that was like a month ago. And it's still doing that from that.
Really?
And I've had 2 people that have gotten on the website and reached out to try and be on the podcast from that. But it's like, well, that's kind of dope. The way it targeted people.
Yeah, see, and that's where I think I had it messed up with on Facebook as well. I didn't realize. So you can narrow down your audience, and you can narrow it down by like keywords and age group. So that's where I think I need to kind of figure out my demographic per se, because I get everything. So my demographic, especially age wise, I get everything. Like,
I was gonna ask, like, who's typically, like, who's a typical customer?
I mean, it's typically, I would say, like middle-aged to like younger adult, and then it's all the way up to, I mean, 40s, 50s. I don't get too many like super old people, and then
because they can't drive.
Obviously, like high school, college clientele, it's not really like, every once in a while I get a couple, but it's not really there.
Yeah, to go spend X amount to clean their car.
Yeah, especially just because they see it as just car cleaning, they don't see it as detailing, where it's
there's a huge
completely different thing. Yeah,
for sure.
You get a lot of people that I feel like that they reach out to, especially like, and that's a part of the problem with the Facebook post too, especially if they don't know what car detailing is. They'll look at it and they'll be like, oh, he cleans your car. It comes out and cleans your car. It's like, it's a lot more than that. So you tell them your price, and they're like, whoa, just for a car clean, like I can go to Charlie's and it's $60. And it's like, no, it's not even close to the same thing.
Oh, for sure.
So that's been the hard part for me.
4-door sedan Honda Accord. How long is that going to take you to clean it? What would it cost, do you think?
Okay, so that's another kind of, it's an open-ended question, because so it comes down to, really for me, interior condition is what's going to take me the longest.
Okay.
So it depends if I'm dealing with cloth interior, if I'm dealing with something that's got a bunch of stains in it, if it's got smoke smells.
Can you get a smoke smell out?
Yeah, typically you can. Well, that's the thing too, especially with like a lot of stains and anything like that. It depends how beaten the car is. You usually can, but if you want a reasonable time limit with the car, that's the problem, especially doing it mobily. So
they're not dropping it off and come back.
Yeah, they're usually not dropping off their cars, and usually they're in a little bit more of a, not necessarily a rush, but it's not something where they want you at their house for 10 hours. So,
come move in.
I've had some cars that have taken me a super long time, but that's the thing too that's been hard for me, is just figuring out, every car is different. So just me going in and trying to figure out where I'm going to start with. I start every car the same, but every car, just some steps take longer. Than I could do 2 Honda Accords, and one, the floor mats are terrible, and the other one, it's like, it's just honestly a pretty easy clean. I just got to go through vacuum, hit the crevices and everything like that. So
now, I had my car detailed one time, and the guy told me the hardest thing, without a doubt, to get out is dog hair. Is that true?
Yeah.
100%. Or was he just basically jacking the price up on me?
No, dog hair, because
my dog has like really thin hair, or like not thin, but like, I don't know what you would call it, but it sticks to stuff basically.
Yeah. So dog hair is a super big pain, especially depending like what brand of carpet. Like I've noticed like Kias have the worst carpet.
Really?
I don't know what it is. Yeah, Kias, I swear you have like the worst carpet. Honestly, Fords have felt a decent carpet, which is surprising, especially like I'm talking like any type of model too. Like it could be like a lower end F-150 or like a work truck or something like that. It's still got decent carpet. But yeah, dog hair is definitely not fun. Honestly, that's the hardest part of detailing for me, just period, is like a spotless vacuum. Because a vacuum on the interior of a car can take you anywhere from 30. People always think they're like, oh, just go in and vacuum it real quick. But it's like, especially for a detail, it's like, dude, you got to get every spec. I go through and I get everything under the seats, because that's huge. Like you can't just be leaving stuff under the seat and get in there and it's like everything else looks nice, and then they go to look under the seat,
they're like, what?
Or they go to buckle their seatbelt and they look in the crevice down there and they still got straws and wrappers and everything down there. So you have to be very like meticulous, especially with your vacuum. That's the most important part, honestly. Once you get the vacuum done, like you'd be surprised how many cars look 90% better.
Oh, I'd believe that for sure.
Yeah, it's like just vacuum. If people just vacuum their car once a week, or even once a month, like it make their cars so much more presentable, at least to them even. So
now how hard is Alcantara to work on?
Alcantara,
Because
Alcantara's
that's
a little different.
obviously nicer vehicles.
Yeah.
Or typically, and it.
Yeah, honestly, but that's the thing too, especially with nicer vehicles, they're usually a little bit more upkept.
Probably, yeah.
So I don't
probably
get
better.
like too much nightmare like Alcantara situations where it's super dirty or anything like that. But even then, they have certain brush like Color Lock makes a really good brush to dust it out. And then I use a Sonax cleaner. That's literally, it goes on almost like a shaving cream.
Dang, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it helps clean it up and raise the hairs up. But
my one of my dad's buddies owns Motor Cars International down in Springfield. And the first time that I ever found out that the difference between detailing and just cleaning a car was I was talking to him one time, and I actually remember the car. It was crazy. It was a yellow 360 Ferrari, and they had just brought it in, and they were shipping it out to the new owner. And he was telling me, he's like, well, we got to detail it before we send it out. And I was like, all right, well, it's a brand new car. I mean, I'm assuming it comes relatively clean, you know? And he goes, well, it'll probably take us between 12 14 hours. And I was like, for a brand new car? And they were like, yeah, but they also like line the interiors. I mean, they the whole shebang. Yeah. But I was like, whoa, like, I thought, vacuum and clean seat and be on your way.
So I did a new, this girl just bought an Acura. It was an MDX. I posted on my Instagram. It was a black MDX, and the car dealership had detailed it maybe a day or two before that. I did it. It still took me just to get everything clean, protected. I go through the outside, put like a sealant on it. It still took me, I think, 4.5 hours.
Dang, like a day after Acura basically did it.
Yeah, so it's still super clean, but if you're going through and you're actually properly protecting everything, and I'm just super meticulous with it. So if it's got some dust in the vents, like I'm going through the vents and dusting it out. Like, especially I know that I charge a premium price. It's not anything unjustified. Like I know everybody around the areas, I know their pricing. So I price it accordingly, especially since I'm mobile.
So how did you determine your pricing?
Literally, I looked at everybody in the area. I looked at the services that they're providing. I looked at their work because I know I understand too. I'm not the best one. I'm working to get there, and I think that I'm definitely getting better on my way up there. I don't know many things, but some places have just been doing it longer. So experience, that's a big part of it. So just experience, and then just some of the other services that they offer on top of their packaging. But that's the biggest.
So what would be like something that they offer that you don't? And like, have you thought about adding that?
But honestly, mobile, it's hard to do some of the other services. So like paint correction, I would love to do that. I've done a little bit of paint correction, but I'm still not comfortable enough to like actually.
Is that like touch up paint stuff?
Or no, so that's actually going through and like taking scratches off the paint. And just so actually doing like polishing, like one-step corrections or cutting and polishing. But really that's the main thing is paint correction. There's some sealants, like ceramic sealants, which I would like to do ceramic coatings eventually. That's probably my next goal.
And now that'd be pretty impossible for mobile, wouldn't it?
There are people that do a mobile. I wouldn't prefer to do a mobile, but hopefully once I get a garage set up or something like that.
Is that something you're thinking about doing?
Yeah, that's what I'd like to do eventually.
That's cool.
Just a little something small or something. And then eventually if I got the garage, I could do like the PPF wraps and then any type of coating.
Did those now when you say PPF wrap, you're talking like a car wrap.
Yeah. Well, and they have like the clear, it's almost like a shield.
I've seen that actually. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I think that'd be awesome to get into eventually.
And so that's down the road then.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I had this vision of just like a full
full
since
shop.
I was a little kid. Ever since I watched like Pimp My Ride or something, I always just thought West Coast Custom, like something like that here would be so cool. Which I know they have Casey Trends, but I've just always thought like, I don't know, being able to sell wheels, do like lowering kits, lift kits, whatever, doing window tint.
Dude, so I actually
big for what it is now, but something eventually I like to look forward to.
So with Casey Trends, when I got my Range Rover, it had just come out. The model did. It was I got an Evoque. And it gets like
that was 40, a red one, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I remember.
And I had but so when I bought the rims for it, at the time nobody was putting custom rims on Evoques. And the problem was it has a car's wheel nut, but it's an SUV, and so you couldn't put a car rim on it, you couldn't put a car's rim on it because the car weighed too much, but you couldn't put a truck rim on it because it didn't fit the car's lug nut pattern, the offsets and stuff. So it was a super big deal to get these rims. And so I paid Casey Trends to design these custom ones for me and all kinds of shit. And actually I still got them now.
Yeah.
I sold the car, and then the guy was like, dude, those rims are obnoxious. Like, do you want them? I was like, if you had any idea what those cost, you would take them and sell them. But so I still actually have them.
Sell it for the same price.
And I probably could.
I love that.
And Tanner's Customs painted them for me and whatnot. But the thing that was crazy about it is, so with Casey Trends is I told him, we went through the whole process, and then I told the guy, I said, hey, just so you know, I'm in no hurry to get these. Like, I mean, if I can have them yesterday, I would like them.
Yeah.
But I understand that you guys are custom making them and the whole shebang. And so he's like, all right, yeah. So he tells me, he's like, hey, it's gonna be 2 weeks. And so I'm like, all right, hey, that's perfect.
Yeah.
And so I actually told my dad, I said, Dad, you know how I'm getting those custom rims made? He's like, yeah. I said, they said it's only gonna be 2 weeks. And he's like, well, that's kind of surprising,
Yeah.
And so 2 weeks happens, and I call him, I say, hey man, where's my rims? And he goes, oh dude, I'm so sorry. It's gonna take 4 weeks total, 2 more weeks. I said, no problem. So now we're at a month. I call him, I say, hey man, where's my rims? And they said, hey, we'll call you back. I was like, all right, no big deal. So nobody calls me back that day. Nobody called me back the next day. The next day comes, and I call him. I say, hey man, where's my rims? You told me it'd be a month. He's like, oh man, I'm so sorry. It's probably gonna be 2 months. And I was like, well, damn, dude, but okay. So I wait another month. I call him. I say, hey man, where's my rims? Let me check and I'll get back. They don't call me back. And so I called him like 4 straight days. Where's my rims? Where's my rims? Where's my rims? So the guy tells me, he goes, hey, you're gonna be happy. Your rims are in, but it's kind of late in the day. So like, could you come in later and look at them, and we'll put them on for you? I'm like, yeah, no problem. So he tells me that. And so like my gut was like, you know what? Like, even if they can't put them on, I want to see them, because like I'm stoked about these rims. So I drive all the way out to Casey Trends, and I show up, and I go and ask one of the sales guys there. I was like, hey man, I'm here for the Rover rims, blah, 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 blah. And he goes, dude, we don't have any Rover rims custom made. I was like, just talked to somebody, just told me they did. He goes, nah, dude, like we have some on order, but they're probably gonna be like another month or so. And so I called the owner, and I said, hey, just so you know, I drove by, you said I couldn't get them installed, but I wanted to see them. And your sales guy told me they're not even here. I'm at Casey Trends now. Like, I want you to come show me my rims. Because at this point, you've already got my money. We're going on 2 months. You told me it'd be 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, man, just so you know, they're not there. And I was like, well, then why did you tell me that? Like, I told you from day one, I'm not in a hurry. And I understand you're custom making these. So like, you could have told me it's 6 months, and like, I would have been like, that sucks, but I understand. And long story short, it ended up taking like about 5 months to get these rims.
Yeah.
And so then
Do you still buy them through them?
yeah, I still did. Well, because I paid in advance to have them, because I mean, they're like wheeled out stuff. Otherwise, believe me, I would have definitely bounced. But so then afterwards, he calls and he's like, hey, is there any way you give me a customer review? And I was like, bro, you don't want me to give you a customer review.
Yes,
and he goes, yeah. And I was like, you don't want me to do that? And he's like, well, your Evoque is probably the only one literally at this point that has custom made rims. So like, we would love to put pictures of it on our Insta, or our socials and all this stuff. I said, you're more than happy to do that, but don't put my contact info, And so I drove that car to a couple of different random car nights, just not to put it in the show, but to look at other people's cars. And people would come up and ask me where I got those, and I'm like, no idea, no idea. Like, I never. And so he saw, like, man, this was 2 or 3 years later. I had a totally different car, and he saw it at a shop and had asked, hey, who did the guy's rims? Blah blah. Well, they gave him my info, and so he calls me. The dude's name's Chad. And he calls me and he's like, hey man, I saw your car. Your rims are really cool, blah, blah, blah. I own this place called Casey Trends. I'm like, yeah, I'm well aware.
No,
and he goes, how do you know me? And I said, do you remember the dude with the custom Evoque rims? And he's like, I remember we sold some like at one time and it did not go well. Did you talk to that guy? I was like, dude, I am that guy.
Yeah,
and he's like, yeah. And like, so, I mean, it blew my mind. Cause I mean, if you've been there, that store's awesome store.
Yeah.
They have all kinds of Chiefs players and the whole shebang.
Yeah.
But that was the weirdest freaking thing. It's like, all right, well.
And the fact that he asked you for a review,
Yeah.
he's got some nerve.
And I told him, I was like, dude, I'll be more than happy, but I'm definitely not going to say like this was a good experience.
If you really want to
Yeah,
review,
I mean,
I'll give you
if
the
you
review.
legit want to, like, if I can give less than
I'm gonna be honest on this review.
But yeah, it was so weird, like just the whole experience, and it's like, golly. But you know, that custom rims stuff, I mean, those dudes have to make bank.
Oh my goodness, I can imagine.
Yeah, and like, I mean, so I put like, that car came with like stock 17s or whatever, and the rims I put on it were 24s.
Yeah.
And I mean, that my tire was like that.
Oh my god.
I mean, I went through multiple tires from where I hit a pothole this big, dude. Pop.
Oh, low profile tires are
nuts.
the worst. My car, I'm telling you, I've never had a car that's barely gone through a tire in like a year, and I've had to replace last December or February. I hit a pothole, somehow blew out my both right side tires. Yeah, I had all my detailing stuff with me. So I'm talking the trunk. I had to get out and pull out my power washer, vacuum, all my tools just to get to my spare tire, and then load it back in on this donut tire. And I'm like, bro, if I hit something else, I got all this extra weight with me. I'm gonna pop it again.
Right?
Yeah. So.
Oh, dude, I would hit podcast. I'd hit potholes this big, and I'd be like,
I don't even know what I hit sometimes. It wouldn't even be a pothole. I just hit like a piece of metal or something in the road and pop it ASAP. So
my dad had an LS 430 back in the day.
Oh man.
And so for my dad's businesses, he has to drive literally all over the country. And well, like perfect example. So I'm in his Honda Accord tonight. That car is a 2021 and it has like 60 something thousand miles on it already. Like not even a full year old car.
Yeah.
And so he used to buy these big Lexus because they're super smooth. He's on the road, you know, 24 hours a day, 6 days a week kind of deal. And so one year for Christmas, he was out of town, and I told my mom, I said, hey mom, we should get dad some dope rims for his car. And my mom's like, do you think your dad would like that? And I was like, of course he would like that, you know? And so I asked my dad, I said, is it okay if we put wheels on your car? And so he's like, yes, you can put wheels on my car. I'll trust your better judgment, you know, that kind of deal. So I was like, okay. So I found him, still to this day, probably the dopest rims I've ever seen. We got him put on that car, and his low pro tires were like this big, which obviously I wasn't even thinking. And so he comes out and he sees it and he's like, I hate this. Like, doesn't even get it. And I was like, why? And he goes, this car looks like a pimp mobile. And literally is what he said. And he goes, I drive to meet people and ask for their business. And I'm pulling up in a car that looks like a damn pimp mobile. I'm 55 years old. And so I was like, well, sorry, you know. And he ended up driving it. And it was like 3 weeks later, he gets caught in snow and spins out. And now he's fine. The car's fine. But he calls and he's like, I don't care what you do. When I get back from my next trip, this better have the damn stock rims on it, the stock tires. I hate these. I don't care if you sell those rims for $1. I don't want them in my house. And so like, but yeah, so that was pretty funny. I was like, my bad. But and it did, dude. It took like an LS at 40, I mean, or 460. That's an old person car. And I mean, this thing looked like a 20-year-old selling drugs. I was like, I don't know. But so that was pretty funny. But okay, so when it comes back to your detailing, so do you charge hourly, or how do you determine your prices? Because you said you obviously charge a premium price, which tell us some of those for people to know. But
yeah, so honestly, so for interiors, I usually start out about 150 because usually it'll take me anywhere from 3 to 4 hours, like I said, for a 4-door interior. And I go through and I make sure I do everything. Like I said, it's a super thorough process. I go through, I dust out all the vents, any of the crevices, like before I even touch it with a vacuum. I go through, I usually blow it out. I don't have an air compressor right now, but I still go through. I have like a Adams air cannon. So I'll go through and at least blow out the stuff that's between the crevices. Then I go through, vacuum it, clean the leather with like leather specific cleaners. I'm not just using like all purpose cleaners. That's the thing about the YouTube that I was talking about. You get a lot of guys that those take super clean to an entire car. It's nuts.
So on a given car, how many different things will you use, like material or cleaning
interiors? It's not too much. I would say for most of the interior, for like any of the hard panels or the leathers, like you can use just like one basic product. A P&S Express interior cleaner is a great product. Carpets, whenever it comes to it, carpets I'm very like experimental with right now. So it really kind of depends on the stain. If it's stained, or if it's just like a basic cleanup, or if it's something where I'm going to have to go through and extract it or steam it. That's the biggest thing. And then, but I go through like anything, I basically clean it top to bottom. And then I'm big on protection. So any surface that I can protect, I'm protecting. So especially like your dash, you can get any like fading, discoloration, you can get it cracking from the sun. So I put UV protectants on it. Everything that I use, especially like I try to use all good products that aren't going to leave like a greasy finish. Like I'm not going through with Armor All and just wiping down your whole car with Armor All.
I've definitely done that. Like I'll put like Armor All on my center thing, and then like I'll go to shift and my arm's like, ah.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. So everything I use, I try to use like mostly like water-based products, especially for like some of the protectants. And then I try to use anything that's like self-leveling. So I like a product that's called Wax Shine Leather Nourish. It's a self-leveling product. It conditions your leather. It's going to provide like a UV protectant, and then also you can use it on any of your plastics, and it's not going to leave like any high spots. So if you've ever used any dressing or something like that for your car, sometimes you can get it, especially whenever you get on the dash, and you won't notice until you hit the sunlight, and it looks like it's got almost like high spots where it'll be like real shiny.
Okay.
And like, so especially if you're not buffing off after you go back. So it's honestly just been taking a long time, just kind of experimenting, figure out what products I like best. And I still experiment with it, especially anytime I feel like as you make more money doing it, or more money off of detail, you want to try better products.
Of course, yeah.
So it's like you're constantly just putting it back in the business. You're like, okay, I want to see if this works out better for me, especially mobile. That's the hardest part about doing it. Mobile is you're doing it outside. So you're in that element. So there's certain products that you just either you can't use, or you learn like you're like, okay, I got to work with this one extra fast.
Because it'll dry.
Yeah, or you gotta learn like the pH balances on it, because some of it in the sun it'll start to settle and it'll cause like streaking down your dash. So that's why anything that's like a high pH, like something like Super Clean or any type of like real strong degreaser, if you use that on the door panels and you use it out in the heat, we'll say you spray it on the door panel, you wait a little too long, and it like streaks on the side. Well, now you can't get that off.
Oh.
You can get it off, but then you have to use abrasive products typically. So you have to use something like a magic eraser, which that's the other part of YouTube detailing.
That's what I mentioned.
I thought you could just use a magic eraser on everything, and that's no,
not the
you can't
case.
use a magic eraser on anything. Yeah, unless you absolutely have to. I don't touch a car with a magic eraser.
Now, magic eraser, being just ignorant, are you talking about like literally?
Literally, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because a
So
lot of people
an eraser from like a school kind of.
Well, no, I'm talking about like the Mr. Clean, the white magic erasers. Have you ever seen those? That they use them for like walls to take off crowns. And
okay,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, so you'll get a lot of people that they'll use that. They'll use it to like clean like panels and stuff like that. They'll dip it like an all-purpose cleaner or something like that. So that's something that I was like, no,
that doesn't work.
Yeah, because you can take the color, especially off some of these leather seats that's not actual leather.
Have you ever had that happen?
I haven't had it happen,
but you've definitely heard of it.
Yeah, and I have had it. So the whole thing was Super Clean too. I have had that happen to where like you'll be wiping something down, you're like, is there some color coming off on this? You always got, but that's why you always do test spot too. So
yeah, for sure.
And luckily it was never like anything where it was like drastic. So I'm very careful about everything that I use inside of cars now. I've always been, but.
So now when you do the outside of a car, do you wax it each time and that kind of deal?
So typically what I do, especially mobily, is I'll do like some type of ceramic spray sealant. So whether it be just something that I can spray on and rinse off, just because especially the ceramic products, they'll last night and day longer than a typical. I could go through and do like a carnauba paste wax and make it look all nice.
I used to do that back in the day.
Yeah,
it was a pain in the ass, and then half the time I'd have like these circles where I'd miss spots.
Yeah,
it's worse than if I just left it dirty.
Exactly. And you get the people that are still like kind of old school, and they're like, oh no, I want you to do that to my car, which it does have like paint cleaning aspects where it'll kind of clean up the paint a little bit, but for the most part, I mean, it's not going to give you lasting protection. Like a good carnauba wax or carnauba, I think is how you say it. Good wax like that'll probably last you maybe tops in the summertime. I mean, maybe a week, 2 weeks.
I used to use like that turtle wax.
Yeah.
And I would spend like a couple hours or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I would drive out in the sun and immediately be like, well, I totally missed that door.
Yeah.
Dadgummit.
Yeah. But no, especially the ceramic products, they're great because I'm talking the water beading is just awesome for it. I mean, I have videos on my phone where a month, 2 months later, I'm washing my car and you can still see the water just sheets off.
Wow.
Which that's what you want in a protection
for sure,
product, especially on the outside of your car. If your water's just sitting there flat, like that's not good. So that's how you get watermarks and anything else. And it's a lot worse for like drying your car, which that's another part of my process where I'm very thorough about my drying, because that's where you're gonna get most of the scratching and marring, anything of that nature. So I have an air compressor or an air cannon, so it uses filtered heated air. I go through any of the crevices on the car, any of the spots, like if you get the drips right below your door handle, or those drips that come up right below the window or the car mirrors, like whenever you're done, you could be dry the whole car, and then you get back and you're like, oh, water's coming out of this spot. I have an air cannon that'll actually just blast all that air out.
Huh. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that used to be, so I had an i8 for a little bit. I don't know if you ever saw that one when I had that, but so I had an i8 for a while, and I would go clean that. And the way the back taillights were, I swear, I would use like a towel and be up in there and try and dry it and everything. As soon as I'd drive home from the car wash, you'd come back and there would be water lines down the back from where the wind would push it. And it was just, I couldn't like get up, and it would make me so freaking frustrated.
That's the hardest part, especially with like sports cars. Like I did a C7 Grand Sport.
That's cool.
Yeah. Or maybe it might have been a C6. But it was the same way, where it just had those big like body lines and all the big gaps for air and everything, and getting the air out of those, it's like, or getting the water out of those, literally that's the only way. It's just
so when you wash a car or when you dry it, do you go top to bottom, I'm assuming?
Yeah.
And then now when you dry it,
usually I'll start off with the glass just to get the towel kind of like almost like primed.
Okay.
So, and then you don't get any streaks on the glass or anything like that, which typically you shouldn't anyway. But
I do.
Yeah. And then usually I'll go, so I actually use I'll use like a detail spray or something like that just to help out as a drying aid, just to keep it just additional lubrication. Because that's the biggest thing, because that's the number one spot where you're probably, if you're going to scratch a car, you're going to scratch it in the drying process. So
now, have you ever been in the middle of detailing a car and it starts raining and you're in somebody's driveway?
I actually have. That's only happened to me one time, because usually that's the thing with mobile too. I'm usually like really on point with the weather.
I bet, yeah.
Like I'll let them know, like, especially if it's like I'll watch it down to the hour like that day. But I'm like, look, if there's a 70% chance of rain, because nobody wants to pay for that either, and I hate having to make people pay for that, because it's like, okay, I do your detail and it rains the next day. Like typically I'll tell people, I'm like, look, if it rains the next day, like I'll come back and I'll wash especially the outside. Outside does not take me long.
I'm not redoing your inside.
Yeah. That's on
that's on you, bro. You
exactly.
got it dirty. That's on you.
Yeah. But usually I'll tell them, I'm like, yo, I'll come back. Just because nobody wants to pay for a full detail, and then it rains the next day, because that's part of the Midwest. So I always factor that in. So I always tell people, I'm like, look, let's not do it today. We can push it back to tomorrow, or I can even wait until after the rain clears by. But I have had, I think maybe one or two cars where it started raining in the middle of it, and that's where, especially like if you have soap on the car or something like that, and you're like, okay, I'll rinse it off, and then just hope that it keeps raining, I guess, for a minute to make it worth it. Like, so, but, and then I kind of have a different process too with each car too. So it's
like what, just based on the body lines, or
based on the body, based on the size of the car, especially like if it's a big car, based on the heat. If it's a really hot day and it's like something where I have to get it done right then. I never try to do a car whenever it's super hot, especially if a car's just been baking out in the sun, because that's what makes it really hard. And then you have to use just like softer soaps or anything like that. That way you don't get like those water lines or anything like that on the side. And then too, it depends, like if it's a wrapped car, I'll use different soaps for that. Especially you don't want to use like a glossy soap or something like that on somebody that has a matte wrap, and you could potentially ruin the wrap.
Right.
So I just
those wraps can be damn expensive.
Exactly. And you gotta be very careful with those. So because I've had some where it's like you get through and you're going through and some of the corner could be peeling up. Like before you even get there, you just tell,
you're definitely checking.
Oh yeah, I inspected those cars very thoroughly, just because I'm like, I don't want to be cause liable.
Now, if you're cleaning a wrap guard, can you clean it a lot quicker? Or no?
Honestly, it depends how well they typically take care of it.
So like we'll say a really well taken care of painted car, and a guy that takes a really well care of a wrapped car.
Oh yeah, wraps are 9 days.
Significantly quicker.
Well, and wraps, they're just easier to clean because of the drying process. You don't have to worry too much about scratching or anything like that with a wrap.
That's true.
So that's what's nice about that.
Now, do you have to use like a completely different soap and stuff on them?
So again, it just kind of depends. So if you're doing like a matte black wrap, then yeah, you don't want to use. So what I usually use, like it's called chemical guys like citrus washing glass, and I dilute it down. So I have it diluted like by the gallon jug.
Oh, that's
I think I diluted like 10 to 1 or something like that. And then it also lowers the pH balance because with different soaps, if you get stronger soaps, so say I put it in my wash bucket, if I'm using 2 ounces versus 4 ounces, 2 ounces can be a good maintenance wash, whereas 4 ounces will strip any waxes or sealants that you have on before it. So it just kind of comes down to what your purpose is with the wash. But back to your question about if it's different types. So yeah, it depends. So like matte black cars, like I usually use like I have a matte or like a vinyl specific, like a matte car wash soap basically. So all it is, it doesn't have any like waxes or anything like that, just because you don't want anything that's going to shine up the wrap itself. Yeah.
They just because you mentioned matte black, kind of a funny story. So I mentioned Motor Cars International earlier. So first time that my girlfriend hung out with my family, was in Springfield, and we went to Motor Cars, and they had this matte black CLK Black Series car. I don't know if you know those.
Nice.
Dope car.
Yeah.
And so my dad and I are walking around, and so I asked my girlfriend, I said, hey, do you like matte black? And she's like, oh, I don't know. And so I said, Dad, what about you? And he's like, you know, on some cars, I'm not a huge fan of it on this one. And so then my dad asked her, and he goes, so do you like matte black? And she's like, I don't know. And so I go, well, it's a yes or no question. Like, it's not that complicated, you know, like you're dramatically overcomplicating this, you know? And she goes, okay, I got to be honest. I have no idea who Matt Black is, and I don't like to patent speak. And so my dad and I laughed so hard. We're like, no, that's the dull black color you're looking at. She's like, oh, no, yeah, I like that. But it was so funny because she's like, I have no idea who Matt Black is. I was like, oh God. But so that was pretty funny. But yeah, some of those matte colors, they look pretty dope.
Yeah. I love matte black on anything. I think you could throw matte black on any car and it drastically looks better.
Yeah.
Like,
so now let's just for funsies, how long would it take you to clean like a Honda Civic compared to like a G-Wagon? Because obviously that's small car, monster truck, basically.
Yeah, honestly, it would probably take me a lot longer to do the G-Wagon. If they're the same condition, I would say the G-Wagon, just because usually the luxury cars, they just have like more intricate stuff you have to kind of work around, whether it be like the door panels have like, especially like on Mercedes, once you get into the AMGs, they have like everything's on the door. Like you want to lower like your seat, raise your seat, tilt your seat back, raise your headrest, like changing the color, roll down the windows. Yeah. Put like open your door, anything, it's like all right there. Whereas whenever you get into like a Honda Accord or something like that, typically they just don't have as much that you have to deal with. And then two, there's just a lot more sensitive electronics once you get into like the higher end cars, like especially like the G-Wagons. And now they have like all the Mercedes have the big long screen that goes across the front. So it's just, and they have the big long vent that goes across the bottom. So there's just a lot of stuff that you kind of have to deal with. And especially a lot of those cars too, typically like Honda Accords, they'll only have one type of fabric. Like it'll be like leather and then plastic. Whereas you get into some of the higher end cars that have like leather, Alcantara, wood grain. Yeah. And then they have like different electronics, lighting and stuff like that. So
now, is it hard to clean carbon fiber?
Honestly, I don't get too much carbon fiber with anything like that. If it's like the carbon fiber or if it's like the piano black, it's just it's not necessarily harder. You just have to be a lot more careful with it. So it's like and there's like different rags I typically use, like especially if it's piano black on like a newer car, it's like I try to use the newest rag I have, or like potentially like a brand new rag if it's a brand new car. Most people's stuff is already pretty scratched up once it's in the piano black, but it's just stuff you have to be real careful around, especially you don't want to scratch that or do any more damage than what's already done to it.
For sure.
So
now, will somebody typically
it's like don't take a brush to it or something like that. You get people that will just take a brush to everything, and it's like you're just gonna scratch it up. So, especially whenever all you really need to do is hit it with spray, quick wipe down. It's not like it's usually gonna get too dirty. That's a nice thing about having piano black or carbon fiber. You get some smudges on it, but that's about it.
Yeah, the only reason I was asking is like, so my wagon had black and then Alcantara and then carbon fiber.
Yeah.
And I would just, being the ignorant dude I am, I would get my spray stuff and clean it. And then the carbon fiber looked like absolute piss. Yeah. And I was like, well, obviously I didn't do that right, because it has swirls and all stuff. You know, it's like that. So I was like, I wonder if that's
But
much tougher.
That's what most people do, to be honest with you. That's why like,
Something
especially like piano black, like I get in there, it's just always jacked up. And I know some people will actually use like a ceramic like detail spray with the piano black, just that way it helps to like eliminate some of the scratching, gives it like a little more protection. I've never actually done that though, so I might try that.
So what's the coolest car that you've gotten to detail so far? You've done a couple Teslas, haven't you?
Yeah,
I feel like I've seen a couple of those on your platform.
Few of the Teslas. I love the Teslas. Teslas are super easy to clean too. I would say that's the best thing about Teslas. They're
because it's basically has like an iPad and then that's it.
Yeah, and then the leather on them too. It's the easiest leather. Like it's very soft and supple, but like in like the crevices, that's usually the hard part. Like it has real deep crevices, but they're super easy to like spread apart. That way you can get your vacuum in there and just clean it out. It's very easy to clean. Like most of the leather you can just like wipe down. I don't know. I know it's a different type of leather. It's like their own type of leather.
Yeah, they've taken some heat over that. Like people really like it or people really hate it. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't know if I would like it. It's just different. But I do think it's super easy to clean. I think Teslas are some of the easiest cars to clean. What I did notice whenever I did the Tesla SUV, I think it's which one's the one that has like the gold wing doors? Yes, I did the X. I've never hit my head on the door so many times because you get in that groove and you're like going through it. You're like, okay, I'm gonna vacuum here. I'm gonna come over here, and every time I would turn around, because I couldn't figure out how to like raise. I didn't realize that
that they go multiple.
Yeah, and you don't want to be an idiot whenever you get to somebody with a Tesla and you get there and you kind of have to act like you know what you're doing. Like,
I do Teslas all the time.
Like, don't worry about it. I'm just sitting in the car. I'm like, especially because I don't know. I've done 2 or 3, but I hadn't done any that had like the gold wing doors on them yet. So I didn't realize you could like raise it to levels. So that was a big issue for me on the first one.
So would those be the coolest cars you've done? Or like have you gotten to do any Ferraris or Lambos?
That's what I'm waiting for. I've been dying for my first exotic. Yeah, I had one guy that he's got a Maserati that he's like, yeah, I'm gonna book you here soon. But really, I mean, I've done a lot of really nice SUVs. I think it was the GLE 450 a couple weeks ago. I did one of the brand new Cadillac Escalades a couple weeks ago.
Those are pretty dope cars.
Yeah, it was like the ESV too. It was a long one.
That's a hell of a car. Yeah, that's a 130 plus car or whatever.
Yeah. And I'm talking the interior on that thing. It's nuts. And he let me drive it, so I picked it up over at the car lot. So I drove it from the car lot over to my house to detail it. And I'm talking, I've never been like, I'm like 10 and 2, like sweating the whole time I'm driving. But yeah, that I don't know. I did what's the Mercedes? I did an AMG, it almost looks like a crossover Mercedes.
I know what you're talking about. GLE.
It might have been. Was it the GLE?
The GLE is the crossover looking one.
Okay.
And then the other one, the big one.
Yeah, I did the big one. It's the GL something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did the 450 on that one. Then I think what's that? The 350, the GLE 350 or something like that.
Yep.
So yeah, honestly, just mostly a lot of like really nice SUVs. I did the C6 was pretty cool too, the Grand Sport.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get a lot of really nice SUVs.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite part.
How often do you clean your own car?
Now, I would say now I feel like I'm cleaning everybody else's more. I used to clean it every week, but anymore.
Yeah, there's multiple times I pulled up to your smoothie place and it's like, damn, I can't see that car. You're so shining so pretty.
Yeah, I know. I've been slacking.
Yeah, I think you should.
But yeah, I used to clean it probably every couple of days. Especially with black paint. I'm like very particular about black paint, but I also think that's one of the things that makes me stand out. Like that's one thing I've always advertised to is like, I mean, I got a black car. Right. So anytime somebody sees me pull up, I'm like, yeah, detail. I'm like, that's my black car right there. Like,
so now is black the hardest color?
Like, yeah. Oh yeah, black's the hardest color by far. And I think it's probably like if you want it very well taken care of, like you're not spending some money on it and get it, especially if you're not doing it yourself. Like never take a black car through a car wash. I mean, oops. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I just do that all the time.
I watched a video. I think it's Chicago Auto Pros does a video, and they completely corrected this Tesla, and it's all black. And I'm talking, it's like spotless. They take it to a car wash once, and I'm talking just beat this thing up. Because you got to think, especially that's the biggest thing with car wash. So like, say a 4x4 goes in, and it's covered in mud. He's got done mud down some field somewhere or something like that. It's got gravel, everything else in it. they go through those brushes, they pick all that up. Well, guess who the next car is? It's you in your black car, and even though it's well maintained, it's just all those brushes. And they say that they clean those brushes out of those car washes, but no way.
Ain't buying it.
Yeah, how many people are going through those things? Like, they don't care.
So when I was in high school, my one of my best friends, his uncle owned a car wash there in town, and so he would work there on a summer job.
Yeah,
and dude, he didn't give a crap. Like, I mean, he's out there like, whatever,
yeah,
go through.
Yeah,
You know,
well,
so it's like, there's
that's
no
the thing
warning
too,
on
is like most people, and I realize that too. And that's the thing with detailing too. You got to understand, like, not everybody's gonna put that as a priority of their car. So you have the people that they're like, okay, I just want this $60 Charlie's.
Is that
like,
your
quick
cheapest?
detail?
Oh, okay, Charlie's.
Yeah, I wish. Maybe one day. I need to do like an express package or something like that, especially for cleaner cars. But that would probably be something that if I maintained it, like, okay, so in 2 weeks I'll come back and do this. But I realize that not everybody puts their car like that big of a priority. So you're not gonna have those people that want to spend that on their car. But if it is somebody, and that's what I try to market towards, is the people that have higher end cars and they want them very well taken care of. Like, and I can come to you and do it from the convenience of your own home. Or if it's just a car that, you know, you got 4 kids and it's just gotten out of hand. Oftentimes a Charlie's car wash for $50 is probably not going to do the trick. So I go through and if it's somebody that wants their car, get that new car feeling back, whether it's a new or old car, like, do it all. So
okay. And then so what's the easiest color to keep clean or to clean? Because I always thought it'd be white, but white, it gets dirty.
Yeah, white's kind of weird too. I would say probably silver. Yeah.
There was a with you saying about how the black was tough. So one time there was a 458 Spider down at Motor Cars, and it was this unbelievable color blue. Like, it was a little bit darker than this, but it was a one-off color. And when you saw that car, you were like, dude, this is the prettiest car I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And they could not sell it. And we asked, we're like, why the heck can't you sell that? And they go, dude, the card had like 4 owners and like a 6-month window, and it had like 300 miles on it or something outrageous. And they said, guys, we detail them, and then guys take them home, drive it for a couple days, try and clean it. They can't keep this color clean. And so they don't want it. And so it was going through. And again, when they detailed it, you were like, dude, that's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. But they said whatever it was with that blue, impossible to keep it clean unless you got it detailed every time. And so I was always like, I never really thought of that. But I mean, obviously everybody thinks about a black car. But it's like, I wonder what other color is. A red one a tough one to keep clean?
Honestly, no, red you don't typically have too many issues with. Like I said, just any of the darker colors. The darker the color, and it's not that it's harder necessarily, it just shows a lot more imperfections. So you have to be very careful, especially with like drying it. Like, you have to make sure you're using drying aids, and then just even protecting it, because water spots are going to show up a lot more. And that's the thing about silver too. Silver just hides a lot of imperfection.
Now, have you ever gotten to do like an orange car or a lime green car?
I actually haven't. I haven't had too many weird colors. I got a lot of.
I guess that's
black
kind of more of
cars.
an exotic type.
Yeah.
Really random
Eventually, I'd like to
exotic.
get into.
Yeah.
If you got them, let me know.
Now, would you be nervous cleaning like somebody's Urus or like
I truly wouldn't. Like, I fully trust my process, especially at this point. Like, I fully trust my process, and I know, like, I'm telling you, I'm thorough with it. Like, I've got all my processes like written down. Anytime, like, I don't know. I feel like I've done my homework, and I'm ready for whatever somebody throws at me.
Now, how many cars do you think you've done roughly since you started? Because you said you've been in business, what, a year?
Yeah. I would say so. Basically, it was just like last summer and a year's life. So probably like 4 months, to be honest with you.
Of actually working.
Yeah. Because wintertime, I mean, I did a couple here and there.
Do people clean their cars or get cars detailed in the winter?
I'm sure they do, but mobily, not much. Just because it gets so cold, I'm like, I don't even know if I would want to.
You're like, dude, I want to be out there snowing.
Yeah, I'll do interior details, but like especially exterior, it's got to be at least decent weather. Because again, that's something you got to hold with. Like, you could be washing a car and it's so cold out, like the water's freezing up on it. That's true. So it's like, but honestly, at this point, I've probably done. I've got to be well into like my 70s or 80s. Yeah, I've done quite a few cars.
Now, does anybody, just since you said that, does anybody get like just the interior? Or does
A
anybody?
lot of people.
They do?
Yeah, a lot of people.
Now, does anybody do just the outside?
It's very select amount of people. Usually it's like the guys that have like real nice trucks and bigger trucks, and they're like, I just don't, it's a lot to maintain myself. But for the most part, usually it'll be, I get a ton of interior details, but if they want exterior, they'll probably just usually go with full detail. Or I try to like sell them on. I might look.
Yeah, it's upsell.
Might as well
Like,
get
dude, if I'm
interior
already
done
here.
too, yeah.
Okay. So now if somebody wants, somebody listens to this and now they're like, dude, definitely want him to detail my car. How far out are they looking? Like, what's the process of getting you to detail somebody's car?
Yeah, so honestly, so it's just something about messaging on Facebook. Let me know your best times that you have available, and I try to work around that. Typically, at the latest, at least right now, I'm sitting about 2 weeks out.
Okay. And now, so
So-
since you're 2 weeks out, you got cars every day, every other day kind of deal?
Typically, well, right now, every other day. It's something where I'm working at my store schedule. So I also have a full-time job that I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I put that, it's very important to me to deal with that as well.
For sure.
So I kind of put those equal levels. So, typically it kind of depends. So I'm working on my schedule right now to where hopefully within the next few weeks, I'll have off Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then the next week I'll have off Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So I'll be rotating schedules like 3 days on, 4 days on. So then I'll have a lot more time to do it. But basically, for the most part, I'm coming up this week. I'll probably have detail every day. Yeah.
And now, would you much rather detail a car than work at the smoothie place?
I mean, it depends, honestly. It depends on the weather because it gets hot. I'm telling you, detailing that. That's the other thing that goes into my pricing. So like,
For sure, you're like, dude, this
yeah,
is not
I
convenient.
understand. Oh yeah, like the elements. I mean, it sucks, especially right now. Like detailing, getting inside of a hot car in 93-degree weather. It's like, it's
Dude,
some
I got
work.
in my car to drive home today, and I was like,
Yeah.
dude, I'd rather die. Like, this is miserable.
Yeah.
So if I had to sit in there for 2 hours or whatever cleaning
Yeah,
it,
and then I gotta pull all my stuff out of my car. I gotta pack it back up, and then I gotta make sure it's still like somewhat organized whenever I pack it back up. Like I can't just
yeah, just
get
throw
up
it in
off
there
of
and go.
everything. Yeah, because I got another detail the next day. So it's like there's a lot that goes into it.
Now, when you
but-
get done, do you show the car to people, or do people just generally be like, all right, thanks? And you just
Oh
drive
no,
off?
no, yeah, I try to always have them come back out. You get people that sometimes they're just like they'll leave or something like that. And, most of the people that I've done, like they'll either pay me up front or they'll be like, if they're paying me, then no matter what, I always just try to get them to come out and look at the car.
Yeah.
And then I'll always go through and I'll like show them some of the things that I've done. And then typically what I do is I'll go back after and then I'll text them and like send them a list of like what was done to the car.
That's cool.
And then I always make sure I'm like, hey, if you guys see anything tomorrow, like let me know.
Mhm.
And I haven't had anybody yet hit me up. I know eventually that's coming. There's gonna come the time where somebody's like not satisfied with it either. It could be something like it's detailed.
Yeah.
So like I could easily miss something one day. I try to not miss anything, but you never know.
Now, with you saying that about how like somebody might leave or whatever,
Yeah.
have you ever had somebody that comes out and like, hey, could you speed this up a little bit? Like I got somewhere to be and I need my
Not
car,"
specifically
something like
say that.
that.
You get the people that every once in a while they like come out and they're like, oh, how much longer do you think it's gonna take? But I always tell people up front. So especially for like an interior detail, like I'll always book. I'm like, look, I want it for 4 hours or 5 hours, especially because. So what I had initially tried to do to get my timing down right was I had tried to, anytime somebody messaged me on Facebook, I would ask them, I'd be like, okay, can I get a picture of the interior? And then I can give you like a more reasonable quote. Because that's what sucks about it too, is quoting the price. Because sometimes I could tell somebody, the low end for a car, and I get there and there's like vomit all over the door panels or something like that. I haven't had a car like that. Luckily, most people will tell you that ahead of time. But that's a problem too with getting into like if you're doing, if I'm going all the way out to Kansas City or wherever it may be, and I'm starting to do more random people. So it's.
Yeah. So with you saying that about going out to like Kansas City, what's your range?
I've gone all the way up to, I did a detail last week up in North Kansas City up by like the airport.
Wow.
Yeah, obviously it charged a little bit more,
you
but
put that into the pen.
yeah, but that's the thing about detailing too, is with the word of mouth, you get people that they don't feel comfortable with people that they don't know in their car. So they ask somebody and say that somebody's out in North Kansas City, like, oh, will you do my car? And then they'll usually pay you more just because they understand. They're like, okay, well, my friend trusts them, like I trust them. Because especially with detailing too, you get a lot of shady people. I see people all the time on the internet that are advertising their price and they're like, oh, I'll do a $40 interior detail. I'm like, what are you getting for $40?
Right. It can't be that great.
First off, what are you using? Like, what products are you using? And like, what's the results here? What is an interior detail? Are you vacuuming for an hour? And that's where the $40 is coming from. Like, are you cleaning the door panels? Are you protecting anything? So
now if you're cleaning someone's car and they got a bunch of change, do you keep it?
All the time. Anything they leave behind, I keep.
Yeah, it's fair game. It's in the contract.
Yeah. No, I do try to have them pull out their personal items, but even if they don't, I always just like I usually bring like a carrying, like a little Tupperware thing or something like that. I try to store it safely. So and then like if they have like glasses or something like that, it's a nice little touch. I'll clean off the glasses or something. Yeah.
Just that little extra touch.
Yeah. And then I usually put like an air freshener in there. And I return most of the stuff back to where it was. Some of the stuff I'll like leave in like a little Ziploc bag. You can like tell them, I'm like, I don't know if you want to keep this in here because it'd be like little pamphlets or something like that. I only throw away stuff that it's like obvious.
That's blatant trash.
Yeah,
like, dude, that's weak old talk.
Like they got like some
I'm doing you a favor.
magazine or something in there. I'm like, all right, I better keep that just in case. You know, it could be under their seat still. It's just, I'll just be on the safe side.
Have you ever found something super cool that somebody didn't know about? That you're kind of like, oh, hey, I found this ring under your driver's seat.
No, actually, I haven't. I've been waiting on that though. Been waiting to save some marriage by finding the right ring or something. But no, I haven't. I've had some crazy stuff though. Found a lot of bullets in cars and stuff.
Damn.
Yeah, I've had some pretty wild ones.
Okay, so you said that you used to give people like business cards and stuff at nutrition, advanced nutrition.
Yeah.
When you're doing that. So tell us a little bit like about that. About not necessarily the business card part, but I mean about advanced nutrition. So
advanced nutrition. So that's me and my dad have been running that for, I think we've been there at that location for 8 years now. He started out of his garage. So he actually started out with he was super into bodybuilding when I was a kid. And I remember always going to the gym with him. My dad was a swole guy, you know.
Yeah. Was he pretty leaned out and stuff? I mean,
oh yeah. No, he was about it. Like he was. I'm talking. I'd go there and I remember him like bench pressing like 400 pounds and asking me to spot him. And I'm like, dude, what am I going to do?
What am I going to do?
Yeah, like you just got me standing here at this point. Yeah. So I remember. So he got. I think he started out with a brand called Centrax Matrix. We still use it in our smoothies to this day. And it's like one of the best proteins that I think I've had, probably of all time. It's just always mixed up really well. It tastes really good. It doesn't have a lot of fillers. But he brought their brand as a company out of Cape Girardeau. And he had a guy that came in and he was like, yeah, man, if you'd like to start selling this, you know, this is a great opportunity, whatever, just to get in because they were an up and coming company out of Missouri. So he started just randomly selling, and I could be telling the story completely wrong, but this is how I remember it.
Right.
Yeah. So he just started randomly selling.
So Ronnie Coleman used to buy nutrition.
Yeah. So Jay Cutler, they were all in our house. No, so he started selling all these proteins, and he would just take it up to the gym, and like people just knew he sold protein, so he'd be selling proteins up there. And then next thing you know, he took one side of our garage and like pushed it over. No, so it started out in our guest room. He had a guest room. He was like, okay, I'm gonna set this up as an office. So then he has a couple more pre-workouts and stuff like that. And eventually starts adding more and more stuff, and more people start coming over. And then my mom's like, okay, you gotta get out of the guest room.
Right.
So she pushes him down, goes through the garage, and then now all of a sudden we got a full garage full of stuff. And I'm talking like literally half the garage. He's got his S10 sitting on one side. The other side, he's just got all his proteins, pre-workouts, everything. You can still see his toolbox and everything in the back. It's just a funny like environment for it. But I know we would have so many people coming over to our house. I remember pulling up and like I'd get off the school bus and there'd be like just 4 cars sitting out front of my house. And they're like, is Dave home yet? I'm like, he's probably on the way home. Open the garage. We're like, we're open for business. And then like we just did that for years, and then next thing I know, he's like, all right, let's open up the store. So he got comfortable with it. I know he was like, all right, I'm ready to leave my job, and just dove in. So we got that was the nice thing about opening the store locations, that we already had a solid foundation where we went in there, and then just that location was perfect.
Yeah, it seems like it's a heck of a location.
Oh, it's
over
honestly,
in that new development and whatnot.
Yeah, especially with having Price Chopper as your anchor tenant right there. It's like, I don't know that I'd rather be next to a gym. You get people all the time, they're like, oh man, this place next to a gym would kill it. And I'm like, I do just fine, because we're not dependent on a gym.
Right.
Like we have that Price Chopper right there, and that's always getting traffic throughout the day. So we get people nonstop. I mean, there's no rhyme or reason to the rushes that we have, which is what's really cool about it. Like you can work at 7 in the morning, and I'm talking walking at 7 a.m. There'll be a line of people. 10 a.m. there's a
Oh,
line
I've
of
definitely been there
people.
on Saturdays and stuff where people would be.
Oh, Saturdays, yeah. Saturdays are
Yeah.
super weird. I have no clue what the rush, like what the pattern is with that,
Mhm.
because it's any time of the day on Saturdays. So
Yeah. So I have a buddy named Terry, and I don't know how to pronounce her last name. Starts with a K. You might know her, might not.
oh, I know. Yeah.
But
She's like
okay.
an NPC competitor.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Okay. So I'm pretty good buddies with her. And so I talked to her randomly. Well, I told her, she hit me up, I don't know, like a month ago. And she's like, DC, how you doing? She actually loves my podcast.
Really?
She texts me about it all the time, whatever. And so I was like, yeah, actually, I'm excited. I've been hitting up this DJ kid from the shake place that I go. And so, he's going to be on, he's doing detailing and stuff. She goes, that started in a garage. And I was like, what started in a garage? And she goes, all the supplements and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know that, but I mean, I'm sure you're right. She's like, no, I know I'm right. I used to buy it out of his garage. And so I was like, no joke. So when you just said that.
I used to run into people like anytime in high school or college, I would go to these parties, whatever. And I would always have people walk up to me and they'd be like, hey man, I know you. And I'm like, no, I don't think you know me at all. They'd be like, oh no. I've been in your garage.
Like, okay.
Yeah. How's Dave doing?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. All right. Yeah.
So now, does your dad still work out at all?
A little bit. I would say he's pretty tied up in the business, and then they just bought a new house, so he's always doing yard work. That's where he gets his workout.
That's his car detail.
Oh yeah. I would say he's either working on his car, because right now he's getting like all fuel injected, getting it ready for summertime, and then that dude loves working on houses. I'm telling you, if there's somebody that can do anything you put in front of them, like I'm talking like especially like whenever it comes to repairs, it's that dude. I did not get that gene.
Yeah.
I can clean a car.
Yeah.
But this dude can do, I'm talking change your oil, change your
yeah, I can't do anything.
Put a turbo in your car, like whatever you want done, like he can do any of that. Anything house related, like he wired their whole house, set up these like surround sound speakers. He went through the ceiling and was like wiring all this stuff. He's setting up his fuel injection system right now, and I kid you not, it's gotta be 75 wires. Like it's literally like a brick of wires like this. You got them all labeled. I'm like, I have no clue how you're doing that. Yeah,
dude, to tell you how like anti being able to do anything that probably every man should be able to do, my front door knob to my house broke a couple months ago. So I bought a new replacement kit on Amazon, and I was like, I can do this. Like, it can't be that difficult. Take the old one out, put the new one in. It can't be that difficult.
Yeah.
So I took the old one out, which probably took me longer than it should have.
Yeah.
And then I was trying to put this new one in, and I could not get this to fit. And hand to God, I literally sat there for probably 2 minutes, and I was like, if I just put duct tape over the hole, I still have the deadbolt. Like, do I really need like a door handle?
Yeah.
And I was like, no, you can't do that. But like, that's how absolutely I can't do any of that
I'm
stuff.
the same way.
It's like I would much rather work an extra hour so I can pay somebody else to mow my
No,
yard.
my dad,
or do
anytime
this
he
or
asks
do
me
that.
for help, I'm like just there to like hand him a screwdriver, basically.
Right.
Like I'm not gonna help, and I know I'm not.
Yeah.
And I know he's not counting on me to help.
I just don't get at like people would ask me to help them move all the time because they're like, oh man, you love going to the gym, you like lifting stuff, and I hate moving stuff probably more than any human being on earth.
Yeah.
But I would always get asked, and it would always drive me nuts when I would help somebody move something and we'd like hit a wall or something.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, oh, you gotta walk. And I'm like, dude, I'm not a mover.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to be here.
It's
Like,
not my expertise.
don't get mad at me for that. But yeah. So you said earlier about how you do the bowls. Is that pretty popular? Because I know that's
Those
on
are
a different
very
side
popular.
of the menu.
And I'm talking they like the past month they've just absolutely blown up. Like,
Any reason why?
honestly, no. I think it's just word of mouth. Like that's especially with the acai bowls. The acai bowls, we really didn't like advertise them too much.
Mhm.
So we did a little bit like on social media. I always pimp them out on like social media. I'll post them on like my Twitter or like Snapchat or something like that. Like, oh, that's what I'm having for breakfast today. People always go, oh my God, that looks so good. What is that?
Mhm.
And you tell them acai and they still have no clue what you're talking about, but like just come in and try them. But yeah, over the past month, they've gone nuts.
Now, with like other supplement stores opening up in the area, like supplement superstores and stuff like that, does that affect you guys at all? Or did it? Because I mean, they opened that one like off prior. I know it's not close to you,
honest
but
with you, not really.
not really.
Summit Superstore was one that I was like, oh man, I could probably put a pretty big dent. I mean, kind of, but it's just with us having smoothies and acai bowls, and I think I don't know, I feel like we carry a lot of especially my dad. He does all the products, all the products that we bring in. He does a great job of just picking out very like unique.
Yeah, all the proteins I've ever
like,
gotten from you guys are always like really yummy.
Yeah.
You know, even those protein bars that I buy, the ones that are like wafers.
Yeah.
It's like I've never seen those in another store.
Exactly,
those are delicious.
Exactly. And we always try to just carry like either unique products that are like up and coming, or just stuff that you just typically can't like find around here.
Mm-hmm. Now, has the like the shipping, like that craziness right now, has that affected supplements and stuff? Yeah.
Is
it a lot harder to get supplements now?
It was very late to hit us stuff, because at first I was like, man, we're not getting any of that. Like we're chilling. But over the past few months, like I'm talking, some of the proteins have gone up like crazy. I know our Rule 1 started out at like $24.99 for the smaller one. Now it's up to like 30 something. So it's gone up a ton. Creatine has gone up a ton, and there was a creatine shortage for a while.
That's kind of an odd thing to be short of, like have a shortage of.
That whole thing was the weirdest thing. I could not figure out if it was like a TikTok trend or something that was going on, because literally for like 2 months straight, every single day I would have somebody come in and be like, hey man, what do you know about creatine? And I'm like, where are all these people coming from? It was and don't get me wrong, like you always have people that like randomly ask you about certain supplements. I'm talking every single day. Either people were like, hey man, where is your creatine? Or like, hey man, I'm thinking about starting creatine. I'm like, why is everybody starting creatine right now? Like, what's going on? And I know it had to be like something with TikTok or something. There's a big TikToker out there taking creatine, and everybody got gas.
So like I told you earlier, but like, so I do TRT, which is the testosterone replacement therapy. Yeah. Because I used to get killer migraines. Really? And I typically sleep like maybe 4 hours a night now, but sleeping was impossible. I get miserable headaches. And so somebody was like, hey, what about like, have you had your hormones checked? My testosterone was like through the floor, basically stupid low. Yeah. Like, so for my age, it's supposed to be between 800 and 1200. Mine was like consistently like 60, 70. I mean, they were telling me, they're like, dude, you work out twice a day. And you're literally producing more estrogen than you are testosterone. Yeah. Like, I mean, you know, and so the reason why I'm telling you that is so I have to go every 6 weeks and they test my blood to like make sure I'm in the right levels and all that. And so a couple times ago, I'm there and the lady goes through my blood and she's like, all right, hey, I've been meaning to ask you this, like, the last 10 times you've been in here, but I always forget. I'm glad I remembered this time. But like, how much creatine do you take? And I was like, I don't take any creatine. And she's like, no, you have to, like, you know, we're dealing with your blood. Be honest with me on this. And I was like, lady, I'm 1000%. I promise you, I don't take creatine. Like I should. Yeah. And, you know, because I do believe it's a heck of a supplement, but I don't take creatine. Yeah. And she's like, all right, well, your creatine levels are literally through the roof, like to the point where it's like almost somewhat dangerous. And I was like, well, what could I possibly be eating that would elevate that? Or like, your body doesn't naturally produce like excessive amounts of that, you know? And so she's like, all right, well, you need to review your diet. You need to do something because like your creatine levels are at somewhat worrisome. Yeah. So I was like, all right, well, I'm telling you, I don't take it. Yeah. And so I got home and I was sitting there thinking about it. And as I'm sitting there thinking about it, I was drinking a Bang and I was like, oh, wait, this has creatine in it.
Not the super creatine.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I drink 2 Bangs minimum a day. And sometimes I'll drink 3 of them.
You drink 3 in a day?
Yeah, sometimes. So like I get up super early and I drink one immediately when I get up. And then I drink one with breakfast and then I'll have one at like 3.
I respect that. I'll do 2 a
day. Yeah. So I was like, oh God, I bet that's what it is. So I gave up the Bang for the next 4 weeks before I went in. And so I was drinking like Mountain Dew, like I had, because caffeine headaches insane. And so I gave it up. And so I asked her, I said, hey, how's my creatine levels? And she's like, dude, they're completely normal. So whatever you gave up, it was good. And I was like, well, that's pretty exciting because that tells me that Bang's not lying when they say they have creatine.
It's the super creatine.
Yeah. But yeah, dude, they told me my levels were like
creatine in a Bang.
Apparently a lot if you drink 3. You know, maybe not
that's
much if you drink 1.
That much.
But yeah, I mean, she showed me like on my blood levels.
Yeah.
And like your creatine's supposed to be like this big, and mine was like, I mean, it was like stupid. Like I thought like their machine was broken type deal. So I was like, okay, well, I guess that makes you know.
That's nuts.
But yeah, so you guys sell like Bangs and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And but like, so what's your most popular product? like protein or
Pre-workouts for sure.
pre-workouts?
Yeah, I mean pre-workouts and protein. We sell a decent amount of protein. Obviously not creatine, but I mean pre-workouts. Everybody takes pre-workouts.
Right.
So
what's your go-to pre-workout right now?
I like the Berserk. The
Mhm.
Berserk is great. So it's by Black Magic. I like it because it's super clean. It tastes really good. And by clean, I just mean it doesn't feel like some of the pre-workouts, I don't know, they just make you feel weird. They give you like that almost like that cracked out feeling.
Like a jitter.
Yeah, like a jitter. They give you like cold sweats, especially if they have like a lot of the yohimbine in it. So I like the Berserk. Flavors are great on it. They have a good like variety of flavors. It's got 375 of the caffeine, so it's high, which I know sounds bad, but that's actually not that high for pre-workouts. Like we've got some that like upwards of like 500.
Dude, I have that the BAMF that I got from you guys, and I want to say it's like 600. Like I mean, it's
I don't think it's quite that high, but the band
but it's high.
It's high. Yeah.
Like, well, put it this way. So I drink a bunch of. So my diet has significant amount of cocaine, caffeine, and like I still will take that pre-workout and I feel it. It's that's got some kick to it.
Bark to it. Yeah. And then it's also got, so it's my favorite pump ingredient is the glycerol powder. I don't know why, it's almost like a sticky consistency, but I just always feel like I get the best pump from anything that has like glycerol in it, and it's got glycerol in it. So I think it's great.
Well, speaking of pre-workouts, do you remember Jacked 3D?
Yep.
So when I was in college, that was the supplement that they were like taking off the markets.
Oh yeah.
Because there was like professional, I want to say a guy that played for like the Orioles died from it. And like, I mean, there was like legit college athletes that were like dying and failing drug tests and that stuff. And I remember at the time, they basically announced at the smoothie shop that my roommate and I went to, or my best friend and I would go to, they told us, they're like, yo, DC, just so you know, this Jack 3D stuff, it's off the market, but we're obviously going to sell what we have left. And so my buddy Murray and I bought it all. And like, oh dude. And I mean, that stuff, you could not build a tolerance to it. But like, I mean, it was nuts. And it had like ephedra in it. And that's what was, I guess, killing people.
Dude, any of those, like some of the old school pre-workouts that were out there was just so much crazy stuff. There's still a lot of crazy stuff on the market, but it's nothing like, it's saturated compared to what it was before. Sure. Like there just used to be like, I remember some of these pre-workouts, like we had one called like methyldraine EPH, and it was like an ephedra one. There's just a lot of like really strong ones. I remember the nitro NCD was really strong.
So now how does your dad determine what to put in your store? What kind of like, now I'm assuming he like researches the products and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So that's the biggest thing. Well, we have a lot of like product lines that we like stand by, like NutriBio. So anything new that they put out, we'll put out usually. Because they're a great product line. Everything's all third-party tested, it's FDA regulated. And then, I mean, we obviously get a lot of recommendations from our distributors of like what's selling at a lot of places, what some of the best products are that are out. And then honestly, we just get a lot of people that send us samples. So if it's something that we try and we like and we trust these people, because that's the other sketchy thing about supplements. You got to be real careful about
it seems like
where you buy stuff from, especially like ordering online and stuff like that. Like you can get some crazy stuff and everybody's like, oh, well, it has this ingredient in it. And it's like, yeah, it was probably made in somebody's bathtub, like like literally, because nothing's like FDA regulated really. So there's a little bit more regulation in it now, but it's still, you just got to be very careful like where you buy your products from.
Have you ever seen that documentary called Bigger, Faster, Stronger? Yeah, that is awesome. I love that. I watched that like maybe once every 2 years or whatever. But what made me think of that was he was talking about how you have to be super careful when you put any of this stuff in your body. And he was like buying individual stuff online and then just mixing it together and making his own pill just to like prove a point for the documentary. And then he was like selling it. And people were like buying it because they were like, dude, I know who Mark Bell is. He's huge. And like when he would sell it, he would tell them, he's like, guys, I'm doing this for a documentary kind of deal. But for those of you that haven't seen it, but he was showing just how easy it is to buy something online, which you have no idea if it's legit that.
Especially with supplements, like people just see like, they're like, oh man, gains of 50% chest width or something like that. And people are like, okay, yeah, I'll try it. Especially like people are wild with the supplements that they'll take. I mean, even some of those people that come in, they'll tell me like what they're taking. I'm like, dude, first of all, why are you telling me? I get it, but yeah, you just get a lot of crazy stuff out there, and there's a ton of just like wild stuff in the market that has no research behind it either. So it's like what possesses you to put this in your body?
Now, how often will you guys sell like a supplement to somebody that you're like, all right, dude, that's not going to help you? Like, and the only reason why I say that is one time I was at a smoothie shop and a guy went in and he was buying this ab fat burner.
Mhm.
And this guy had to be 200 pounds overweight.
Yeah.
And the dude that was selling it to him was like, "Oh, dude, you'll take this in the morning," and like was hyping this up. And I wanted to be like, "Bro, that's completely irrelevant for that guy."
Yeah. No, and I'm telling you this with 100% honesty. Like I put this on my soul. Anytime it's somebody, especially like that, if they're like just very overweight, I always give them, because you get a lot of people with supplements, like once they decide that they want to take something, like they're gonna take something, whether they get it from you or not. Like they'll go somewhere else and ask them the same questions, and somebody will be willing to just be like, okay, yeah,
they want
here's
to
what it
sell
is. They're gonna do like that guy, and they're gonna be like, oh, just do this. I always try to tell them at first, like I break it down, so I'm like, look, like first off, you have to make like a dietary change. And then I always I try to figure out any medical background just in case they do have a medical background, because like I'm not going to sell them a supplement just because they walk in and they're like, oh man, I'm diabetic, I don't want to take this, like my doctor's told me I need to take this, I'm gonna take this. Like I'm not gonna tell you, I'm not gonna give you anything to take. Like consult your doctor first. So I just always try to make sure I'm very clear with like any like health precautions or anything like that. And I make sure I tell them like straight up at first, I'm like, look, it's gonna be high stimulant. Like if you have heart issues or anything like that, if you're worried about that, I wouldn't take this product.
Right.
But I mean, honestly, like I said, it's just something where I'm always going to tell people, like I'll tell people what I think it could do for them. And then if it's something, we get guys that come in there all the time and they want to take, a testosterone booster or something like that. And especially if they're old and they don't want to do like the testosterone replacement therapy, I'm like, it's going to benefit you a little bit. Yes. But if you just did the testosterone replacement therapy, like you get a lot more benefits from that.
Well, I mean, there's like, I've told multiple of my buddies about it and they went in and like got their test and they're low also.
Yeah.
But they're terrified of needles.
Yeah.
And so they're like, dude, I'd rather take a pill.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you can, but
it's not gonna be nearly as
the needle's this big, dude. And it doesn't hurt.
Yeah. Exactly.
You do it once a week and it's like, okay.
Yeah. So I always just try to be like very upfront with people, and I'll tell them anything that I think like side effect wise it could cause, because I've seen it all with most of the stuff. So especially with like fat burners, anything like that, testosterone boosters, whatever it may be. But yeah, and then I try to let them know, any dietary changes that I think that they should make. Obviously, I'm not a dietitian, so I'm not gonna give them a straight up diet.
Now, have you guys ever thought about making that like a product you guys would offer?
Like diets?
Yeah.
We have. I know that there's other stores in the area that are supposedly dietitians.
Oh, that do that? Okay.
Yeah. But I'm sure it's mostly just like cookie cutter diet plan.
Right.
They're telling people like, oh yeah, and we're giving you a very
protein
individualized,
bag of rice.
and everybody gets the same diet plan. But I mean, that's something that it would be cool to add, but I don't know.
Okay, so now I know that you have a smoothie of the month.
Yep.
Because you had a cookies and cream one for a long time that was pretty bomb. Yeah. But now you said you make those up, didn't you?
Yeah.
So how's that when you decide to make a new smoothie or whatever? How do you come up with that?
Mixed stuff. So honestly, like I've got most of the flavors in my head, like what they taste like. So like I can kind of think. I mean, just from bartending, like I can kind of think of like flavors that would go good together. Like that's something I've always been decent at. That, and we do. I mean, every once in a while, like we get customers that come in. They're like, "Oh man, I want to." Like either they'll be like, hey man, can you just like I got one guy that comes in every time, he's like, bro, I just trust you, like build me a shake. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna experiment with some stuff, and no matter what, he's always like, yeah, he'll tell me like, not that good, or I'll be like, oh bro, this is the best shake I ever had. Like, so it's either that or I mean, find stuff offline. Really, it's not all just me, or my dad will come up with them, or somebody that works up there will come up with them.
Have you guys ever come up with one that just like, say a weekend, you're like, no, we're definitely getting rid of that. Nobody liked it.
I'm sure we have. Usually I stick with them. I'm sticking with my guns on this. I think it's tasty. But no, and so that's the thing too. Usually we'll go through and like if it's something that we're doing, we'll kind of taste test it beforehand. And we have quite a few that like are there just we know that they're hits. So yearly, like this month we have the Grand Slam, which is salted caramel, vanilla whey, PB2, like which is like a low fat peanut butter powder, and then I think that's it. But that's one that we do every April. So
I know you had like one called the New Year's resolution or the new resolution or whatever.
Yeah. That's
and it was like a green one.
Yeah,
man, that was delicious. I would always get that one for.
I think
it was either that or the cookies and cream.
Yeah, I love our green shakes, and we use like fresh spinach, fresh kale. Like a lot of places will use like weird like veggie powder or something like that to add to it.
So you guys use actual stuff then?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Even so, like even the fruit. So smoothies have to have a liquid base, right? So even like our fruit puree that we use, it's 100% crushed fruit. It doesn't have any added sugars or anything like that in it.
That's cool.
Yeah. So it's not just like people come in and they're like, oh man, I don't want any sweetener or anything like that. And it's not what we're using. It's not like we're using a lot of places they'll use like weird syrups and stuff like that. We don't use any syrups.
Which is a bunch of sugar. And
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, it's just flavor.
So with you saying that about how you have that one guy that just comes in and says, hey, make me something.
Yeah.
So one of my best friends, I actually had him on the podcast. It's the dude I told you that I got elected.
Yeah.
Okay. So when we were in high school and when I was in college, he worked at this gym and he would make you protein shakes at the door. Like you could buy your smoothies on the way out. And one time I asked him, I said, all right, Nick, I want something different, bro. I get the same vanilla, whatever, every time. And he's like, all right, well, you love peanut butter, right? I said, yeah. He goes, all right, I'm gonna make you something good. And dude, I mean, he's like mixing stuff in there, you know? And so he gives it to me. I was like, well, what do you call this? And he's like, I call this the smack your mama. And I was like, and he's like, it tastes so good, you smack your mama for a sip. And I was like, okay. And it was like absolutely delicious. And so a couple of my buddies that were working out with me, they're like, hey, I'll take a smack your mama. And dude, it was like 2 weeks later, they actually had that as one. One of the flavors. And it was hilarious. Like when, you know, people would be getting done working out and he'd be like, yo, you want to smack your mama from like across the gym? We're like, dude. But that one was hilarious. Just basically it was like like whey and a bunch of peanut butter. And like it was so good. But yeah, it was pretty funny. But
can't go wrong with anything with peanut butter.
For sure.
Tell you what.
Yeah. So do you guys have a most popular smoothie?
Peanut butter cup.
Yeah.
Yeah, hands down. Those are most popular. There's days that go by and like people walk in, I'm like, okay, let me guess peanut butter cup. Like I'm talking on like 6, 7, 8 in a row. So the peanut butter cup, all of our veggie smoothies are really popular. Fruit smoothies. Honestly, our keto smoothies are really popular as well.
Really?
Yeah, which I mean they're pretty basic to be honest.
Yeah, I was gonna say
like
with no carbs.
Like keto, yeah, there's not much you can do with them. Or like in any of our lifestyle shakes, which is like our lower calorie shakes, they're super clean, but you can still get people that want them. I'm like, this one's basically just protein, fiber, and some banana. But honestly, shakes are just that's what's awesome about our store too. And that's why I say that with like Supplement Superstore coming to town, these other stores, they just don't have that aspect. Because smoothies coming in, I mean, that brings us in so much business. Like people that you wouldn't even think, people that don't even care about fitness at all. They'll just come in, they're like, oh man, I just want a quick snack or something like that.
Yeah, dude,
I heard you guys had good smoothies.
Yeah, there's been multiple. Well, I mean, I haven't been able to work out for probably close to like a year now. I hurt my dumb neck. But I go in and get smoothies all the time because I'm like, I really don't feel like cooking dinner.
Yeah.
Or, you know, like I'm by the gym or, you know, I'm by the place.
Yeah.
I'll go in and get a cookies and cream and I'm full.
Yeah. So yeah, we get a ton of those people that they're just like, oh, I'm in a rush. Again, the grocery store, you get the people that walk in like, oh, my kid's hungry or something like that. Or they're like, oh, I told my kid it's ice cream. They'll come in.
Heck, some of them are good enough. They taste like
Yeah. We have chocolate frosty. It's like spot on the chocolate frosty.
Damn.
So yeah, I might have to take that out for trademark purposes.
Yeah, there you go. Now, do you guys have just the one location?
Yeah.
Any plans on expanding at this point?
We looked at multiple locations. We were right before COVID. The year lately, just with everything kind of, it's a weird state right now. Hopefully we go back to looking at locations, but I know it's definitely been in the works before. So I'm sure it's coming at some point.
Now, did COVID really affect your guys' business just with gyms being down and
slowed
stuff?
It down drastically. I remember I had one day, I remember this vividly. I had a dude who brought something back, which sucks in the first place, but he brought a supplement back. It's like 2 p.m. We were closing early. I think we were closing at like 5 p.m. during like whenever we were actually on lockdown. We got lucky. We were able to stay open just because we kind of classified as a restaurant because we had tables.
Oh, okay.
So we just had to move our tables.
Is that why you have that one table sitting there?
Yeah, we literally, well, I mean, now we have it just because sometimes people like sit down or they'll like wait on their smoothies.
Do you ever have somebody sit there and drink their whole smoothie and then leave?
Every once in a while, but it's usually somebody that's like you. They'll come up there for like a meeting, which whatever. If you want to have a meeting up there, that's cool. And then you like people that like bring their laptop and like work real quick or something like that. Or you just get people that like I love it whenever customers just want to sit by and talk. It makes my day go by so much faster.
I swear every time I go in,
I
talk about
yeah,
like,
I love that. I'm like, please, bro, stay a while. But what were we even talking
about? COVID. So COVID.
Yeah. So I remember one day we're sitting there and the guy brings something back. It's like 2:00. I'm looking at our sales and we're at like negative $30 in sales. And I was like, how am I supposed to go home? Do I just stay here until I break even? Like, what am I supposed to do here? So I got lucky. More people ended up coming in, but we honestly, that was the best part about COVID is it just showed like how loyal our customer base was. Cause we had so many people we would see that would come in day after day. And they're like, they don't even want to get out of their car. I'd bring it out to their car, but they were still coming in and supporting us on a regular basis. So we got very lucky. We're blessed to have the customer base that we have, without a doubt.
Yeah, I know a bunch of people that go from my gym.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like, well, like Perch.
Yeah.
You know, Steve
yeah,
Perch.
daily.
So every Saturday he's there.
Yeah.
And he always cuts in front of me.
Yeah, I'm so thankful for those customers because that's what keeps us afloat. I mean,
for sure.
And that's another reason why whenever those bigger stores come into town, I'm like, you got very regular. I mean, you know that people are going to stop in there and they're going to just see what they have and stuff like that. Or they might get a couple supplements from there, something that we don't carry or something that they might like that product better.
Right.
So, and that's not a big deal, but that's a backbone of our business is just that loyal customer base that we have. And we've always kept that because we've always taken very good care of our customers. I feel like for the most part.
Oh, for sure. I've never
had
once
too many
went in and been like,
complaints
oh, that was odd or that took forever or
yeah,
whatever.
Yeah. And then even my dad, he's like very, very anal about keeping a very clean store. And that's one of the biggest things that we always get complimented on. It's just like other people come in, they're like, wow, this is the cleanest store ever. Like, it's awesome. So that's the biggest thing for us.
Now, does anybody else that work there, are they related to you? Like the other?
No, it says family owned and operated, but
well, I mean,
we got a very small family.
But I'm just saying, like, it seems like there's one guy that's there if you're not there, that he's like almost always there.
Yeah.
And a bigger kid, and I'm always like, I wonder if he's related.
No.
Yeah, because you had a couple girls that worked there for a little while.
Yeah, and we still do. We got a couple of high school kids that they're kind of just like hit or miss on if they can be scheduled because they got everything else going on. But any nights that they have off, they'll usually work up there. We have another kid now that he's pretty close to he's 30-40 hours. And then another guy that's like he's been there forever and he works about 30-40 hours a week.
Now you've got new hours now, don't you guys?
Yeah, so we have winter hours. We're working on those. We'll probably go back to summer hours. So basically, and all that affected was Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So Friday we close at 6 p.m. just because honestly after 6 p.m. we usually don't get too many people. Everybody's like either going out or they're just done for the night. Saturday we're open 8 to 3. I think we're getting ready to open up back to 8 to 5. So we'll stay open 2 hours later on Saturdays, and then Sundays we're just 10 to 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, does NFL season matter at all? Like, are you guys busier?
Yes. No, it'll be if the Chiefs are playing or it's like a day game or whatever the 11 p.m. kickoff is, we'll be dead the whole shit. Might as well not even open sometimes. Like, it's that. So you'll usually get a little pop at the beginning on Sundays. Sundays are just weird. Because I'm telling you, like, you'll have the busiest days of your life on Sundays, and then some days will just be dead.
Yeah.
Even without football season.
Just thinking about like your other, you had a girl that worked there. I want to say her name was like Caitlin, maybe. Maybe not. I don't remember what her name, but so one time when I was in there, she told me, she's like, hey, I heard you've talked about like stock stuff and all this and whatnot and cryptos and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah. And she's like, I think I want to do that. And I said, okay, well, what's your background on it? Or like, do you have any knowledge of this whatsoever? And I was talking to her while she was making my smoothie. And she's like, I've downloaded Robinhood. I've done this, I've done that, And so I said, all right, well, here's the deal. Here's my number. If you have any like legitimate questions or whatever, feel free to reach out to me and I'll answer to the best I can. Like, I'm not a huge crypto guy, but I keep up with it, whatever. So I live maybe 5 minutes from your store and I'm pulling into my house and I got a number from a text and it says, do you know what Dogecoin is? I was like, okay. It's like,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And so I was like, yes, I am aware of what Dogecoin is. And she's like, should I buy it? And I said, I have no idea. Like at this, I mean, it could be $1 trillion, it could be zero. I have no idea. And and so I put, honestly, I don't know. Like, I know right now it's a popular meme one, whatever. Yeah. And so she wrote me back, well, you don't know very much about this. And then I never got another message or anything.
What?
I was like, all right, well, yeah. But I was like, like, that was really kind of odd.
I
But
know exactly what you're talking about. And that's the funniest thing in the world. Because I remember whenever she like got in all that.
yeah, she's telling me about her Robin Hood and all that stuff. And I was like, do you know what Dogecoin is? I was like, I'm pretty sure you could live under a rock and know what Dogecoin is at this point.
Man,
But yeah. Well, so with that being said, is there anything else you want to tell us about your detailing or about the advanced nutrition? Obviously I'm going to put your contact info and all that stuff in the links.
Yeah.
I'll put the hours, all that stuff in the links. But anything else you want to tell us about those?
Not that I can think of. Just detailing, hit me up.
Okay.
Let's get to work.
And then, so last thing. So every guest, I ask them 5 questions at the end.
Okay.
And they're not going to solve the world's problems by any means.
I'm ready to solve.
Okay. So question 1, if you could eat dinner with any 5 people ever, dead or alive, tomorrow, who would those 5 people be?
Oh, 5 people?
You can give me 3 if you want, but 3, 5.
Man, this is a tough one. Let me go. Ooh, this is real tough. I would say Charles Woodson,
Raider.
Marshawn Lynch.
Weird.
Matthew McConaughey.
Really? Why Matthew McConaughey?
I don't know. I just love Matthew McConaughey.
Okay.
That's my dog.
All right.
Let me go Johnny Cash. And then Kate Upton.
Kate Upton. Okay.
She's my little date.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think that one's probably self-explanatory.
Yeah.
But then the other guys just because they're Raiders.
Yeah, I'm just interested. I love Johnny Cash. Got an interesting life story. Marshawn Lynch got a very interesting life story.
He'd love to sit and talk to you.
Yeah.
He loves talking to media and stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just here so
I think it'd be funny. Charles Woodson, that's the GOAT. So
Woodson's a stud.
and then who else did I say? Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah,
then Matthew McConaughey. Oh man, I don't know. All right, let's swap out Johnny Cash. Let's go Leo.
DiCaprio? Yeah.
Oh no.
The conversations you could have.
I'm swapping out the last 2 and I'm going Johnny Depp, Amber Heard.
They're kind of in the news a little bit right now.
I want to sit down at dinner and let's discuss it out. I think I solved it for him. Yeah.
Dude, I'm not following that trial by any means because it has 0 impact on my life. But I'm seeing all kinds of stuff on like Instagram and stuff of her attorneys. Like, I'm pretty sure I could do just as well as they are. Some of the questions they ask are so belligerently stupid.
Yeah.
That you're like, how did you pass law school?
What are they actually like? What are they in court about?
So
is somebody getting sued?
Yeah. So he's suing her for defamation of character because she came out and accused him of domestic violence. And he ended up getting dropped from multiple movies. And he lost over $120 million in movies because of her claim.
Yeah.
And so now he's
up Pirates of the Caribbean.
Well, that was
right.
Yeah, one of those movies they were paying him $45 million for, and they kicked him off of it because of that. Yeah. So that's why he's now.
So what's she gonna do though? She doesn't have that money.
She doesn't have the money. Basically, what he's doing
is just protecting future.
He's basically putting it on record that he didn't do it.
Yeah.
And so hopefully he can get some of these jobs back because like they didn't. And the other thing that's kind of funny is so Amber is in Aquaman 2.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw the other day on the news that they were talking about that they started a petition to not release the movie and to substitute her out because she's in it. And it had over 2 million people sign it in the first 3 days. So they're in like now whether or not they can edit her out, I don't know because I haven't seen Aquaman, but I'm assuming she probably had a pretty big part.
Yeah.
But it's like, dang.
I can't believe she pooped on his bed.
That's pretty funny. Yeah. Yeah, a chick's got to be pretty nuts to take a dump on your bed and then
I've never
be like, sorry, and then gets right back. Yeah, right.
That's what I'm looking for. So.
Yeah. You hear that, Kate? But, okay, so question 2. Do you have a favorite quote or set of quotes that you try and live by?
I just live Moss.
Live Moss? Okay.
Big Taco Bell guy, so and I think it encapsulates life perfectly. Just live more.
Yeah. I like that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I saw just a little side tangent, but I saw a thing one time where they were talking about that Chihuahua because you said Taco Bell.
Yeah.
And when Taco Bell initially came up with that, they offered the owner of that Chihuahua a portion of the commercial viewing. And the guy turned it down and said, no, I want you to pay me to use my dog for that commercial. And they did it. and it cost the guy literally millions and millions of dollars.
Oh, I bet he's sick.
Yeah.
Oh
But
my God.
I saw,
Especially how much they use that dog.
oh, dude, they used that dog and burned him into the ground. Like, you know, that Yo Quiero Taco Bell, the whole shebang.
Yeah.
But yeah, that guy actually got offered because they didn't know if it would take or not. And so Taco Bell basically said, instead of paying you a whole bunch of money to use your dog, which didn't make sense to me. It's like, it's a Chihuahua, dude.
Yeah.
Don't they all look the same? But apparently not. But yeah, they were worried that it would be like a one commercial and then be over.
Yeah.
And so they offered him, they said, hey, instead of paying you for your rate, we'll just pay you a portion of what that commercial does. And the guy's like, nope, want my rate. Yeah. And I don't remember what documentary that was on, but it was some documentary where they talked about like products that if people could go back in time and redo, they would, you know, kind of deal.
Yeah.
And that was one of them. But I was like, dang,
Yeah,
that dog would have made that dude multi-million dollars.
Yeah.
But
That's super tough.
all right. So question 3, if tomorrow's perfect day, you know, money's no object, nothing, like, what are you doing tomorrow?
What am I doing tomorrow? Money's no object.
Money's no object. You know, if you want to go with your friend, like they don't have to get off work, like, you know, whatever you want to do tomorrow, what are you doing?
Definitely going to the beach. Okay, so I'm starting off, I'm going to Vegas
Okay.
for 4 hours.
Okay.
Gambling a little bit, having some fun. And then I'm flying probably, I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I'm gonna say San Francisco. I love San Francisco. I don't know, just something about the vibe there. It's just everything about it. It's kind of like, it's kind of like old, it's kind of dirty. I don't know. I like San Francisco. There's like bums pooping on the sidewalk.
Right. Now, are you guys from California, by the way? Since you're
my
fans?
parents are.
Okay.
Yeah. So my dad's from, I believe my dad's from San Diego. My mom's from San Jose. I could have this flip flopped. But
Cool.
but yeah, we
know your parents very well.
No, they're from somewhere out there.
Mhm.
But yeah, we always go back out there. My grandpa lives in Northern California, and we always go out there. Like, so he lives in Paradise where they had all the wildfires a while back.
Oh.
Yeah, the
Mhm.
campfire wildfires. So yeah.
Okay, so you'd be in San Fran for a little bit.
Yeah.
What are you doing when you're in San Fran?
Shoot, probably going to eat, probably going to the wharf, get some seafood. And then just like sightseeing. I love it down there. Like the Golden Gate Bridge, I think is so cool. Like, just I don't even know why.
Have you ever been to Alcatraz?
Yeah.
You have been?
Alcatraz, yeah.
So when I was growing up, The Rock, I'm pretty sure it was like the first rated R movie I got to see, but it has that Ferrari chase, which I have, hand to God, watched at least 1 million times. Like, I've watched it on YouTube 100,000 times. Like, I love that scene. So we went to, my parents took me to Alcatraz, like, I don't know, 10 years ago, whatever. And I thought Alcatraz was awesome. But at the same point, like same time, I was thinking it was going to be like in The Rock, and it's not the same at all.
No.
And I was like, so disappointed. I'm like, all right, so where was the shower shooting?
Yeah.
You know, kind of scene. They're like, no, that's not here. Like that. And I was like, damn, that sucks.
Yeah,
But
no, I love all that stuff. I think that stuff's cool. Just any like history. I also wanted to go to this is off point though.
Okay.
But the Mob Museum out in, last time I was in Las Vegas, the Mob Museum.
The Mob Museum? I went to that.
Really?
Yeah.
Is it cool?
Yeah. Oh, super cool. Like
Yeah.
I love mobsters and
Me
drug
too.
dealers. And
Today
all
I
that.
just
Like,
watched
think
that
they're
Johnny
awesome.
Depp movie where he's in like the mob.
Oh, Johnny Brasco or Donnie Brasco?
No.
Not Blow.
Not Blow.
This
I
is not
love
Blow.
Blow. That movie's fantastic though.
Mhm.
Man, it's not Lawless. It's like his name's John Dillinger.
Oh, I definitely not The Untouchables. I definitely know what movie you're talking about though. Yeah.
I love that movie. But any movies at that time, that's what I like.
So if you did go to Vegas, again, side point, but there's a dude that has a museum of like crazy stuff that's like kind of controversial. And like he has like one of the knives that the Mansons used to kill that night that they did all that killing. He has like Charles Manson's ashes. Like, I mean, he's bought a bunch of stuff that's very, very controversial.
Yeah.
And so one of my buddies that was on the podcast, him and I are 1000% convinced that Scott Peterson is innocent. And and we did a podcast where we just went over that and talked about it.
Wait, who's Scott Peterson?
The one that's in prison for life for killing his pregnant wife.
Is that the one that they got? Did you watch the video, the police cam? Is that the one that was recent?
No. He's been in prison now for like 12 years or something like that.
Okay.
But so basically, long story short, and I'm gonna convince you he's innocent in the next 30 seconds. But long story short is his pregnant wife goes missing, and he basically had a girlfriend on the side.
Yeah.
And nobody thought he killed his wife until they found out about this girlfriend, which again, having a side girlfriend makes him a bad person, does not make him a killer by any means. But so there's like all kinds of evidence that like he wasn't there, but he had bought a fishing boat like a couple weeks before she got killed. They found her body in this lake. His boat was at the lake. Okay.
Yeah.
But did he probably kill her? Yes, most likely he did. But the evidence they presented by no means should have convicted him. Yeah. Right. But so the reason why I bring that up is I was just in Vegas last week for some stuff. And I was talking to a guy and he's like, hey man, just randomly talking about stuff to do. And he goes, have you been out to that guy's museum? And I was like, no. And he's like, dude, he's got some really cool stuff. And then he's got some stuff that's like not that cool. Like, for example, he's got Scott Peterson's boat. Like, I don't know if you remember Scott Peterson. And I'm like, yes, I remember Scott Peterson. And yes, I want to see that boat. And there's nothing special about it. It's just like a 12-foot long fishing boat. Yeah. One of those aluminum boats.
That's crazy. He has that.
Yeah. Well, but dude, he's got all kinds of stuff that like genuinely pisses people off. His name's Zach Bogans or something like that.
Yeah. That's wild. I remember the lead singer of Korn had I saw it on MTV Cribs. He had Ted Bundy's Beetle.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, like
so see, that's the kind of stuff that like he has in his museum. It's stuff like that.
Where do people find this stuff? Mm-hmm. Like that's nuts.
Yeah, but like, and I want to say he had like one of the things he had, and I know this is totally off topic, but like one of the things he had was like a clown mask that John Wayne Gacy used to wear. What? Like, I mean, he's got stuff that's like, for people that think that kind of stuff is cool, like serial killers and stuff is cool. It's like cool stuff to see. Yeah. But for like normal people, they're like, that knife killed 14 people. Like, that's not a good knife or whatever. You're like, no, it's pretty dope. But so side thing on Vegas, but whatever. Okay. So if you could go back to 18-year-old DJ, what would you tell him? What kind of advice would you give him? What would you tell him to do?
I'd tell him get to work and learn how to just like save. Yeah. I was horrible about saving. I served tables for so long. I'm like just thinking about like how much money I blew just like going out and partying. And especially like realizing too, like how unimportant that stuff was looking back on it. I like almost put it up there as like a priority at that time in my life. Like I was like, oh, I gotta go out, like can't lose my social life or anything like that. And looking back on it, it was just like so I don't want to say it's pointless because I met a lot of people, like a lot of my friends there and stuff like that. But even then, it's like none of those people were like lifelong friends. You know what I mean? It's just such a time and space. So I would say that's the biggest thing is just learning how to save my money. Like, bro, save your money and like just be wiser with it. Mm-hmm. Especially serving tables. Like I was making more money than 90% of my friends just serving tables, especially as they were in college. And I was just blowing it.
I'm sure you're reporting all your cash on your taxes.
100%. I was having credit card minimums, whatever the credit card tipped me like. But yeah, no, I would say probably that. And then, yeah, like I said, just buckle down, work hard, which I've never had an issue with that. So. Yeah.
One thing that's funny is like, so when I ask that question, I swear like 90% of people are like, buy Bitcoin, buy Google, but it's always something financial. Yeah. I think that's something like as people get older, they realize, like you just said, I spent so much money that like at the time, it's like, dude, that was so much fun. But looking back at it now, it's like, could I have done without that? And
granted, it's like, especially like with the partying side of it and stuff too, you create so many memories off of that. But at the same time, it's just like you look back at it and you're like,
right.
I could live without that memory.
Oh, for sure. And like you said, I mean, I used to go out a ton. Yeah. Now my friends give me hell. They're like, dude, if we get you out 3 times a year, like buy a lottery ticket because something's crazy. Yeah. And it's and they'll ask like, well, do you miss going out? I'm like, dude, I don't miss it at all. Like I don't miss waking up feeling like hell. Yeah. And if my friends want to go to dinner, I'll be there, but I have no desire to be out until 2 a.m. I got stuff to do. Yeah. And the old saying, nothing good happens after midnight. You know,
Very true.
you're just asking for trouble. Hell, ask your boy Henry Ruggs.
Yeah. Yes.
Oops.
Yeah. Oops.
Yeah, that worked out well.
No,
but-
yeah, but I'm almost the same way. I've gotten to the point. I still go out a little bit, but I don't know. I'd rather just work at this point.
Right.
Like, it's
Mhm.
I just work.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Yeah. Okay. So last question. When it's all said and done, how do you want DJ to be remembered?
I'd like to be remembered for my work ethic, and especially I would say first and foremost, just like my kindness. Like, I don't feel like I've ever tried to put anybody in a worse position than they are. I never tried to take advantage of anybody. Like, I'm just never been a shady individual. I would never want that to be reflected on my character.
Mhm.
No matter what it may be. Like, I always try to, whoever comes across my path, I want to be known that, okay, I left them better. Like, whether it maybe, you know, it made them smile that day, something small. Like, I just don't want to ever be put in the position of where, like, they're like, oh man, that guy sucked.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? I
Mhm.
don't know. I just want to be remembered as always, like, you know, being happy, giving happiness to other people, spreading my happiness.
Good. I like it.
So, yeah.
All right. So take a minute. Tell us where to follow you, where to follow the detailing, where to
Yeah.
follow the shop. Give us anything that somebody needs to know.
All right,
to get you business.
Yeah.
Tell us.
Yeah, so on Instagram, let me look at my Instagram here. I should have known this off the top of my head. But on Instagram, I'm under DJ's Detailing and Automotive Revival, or DJ's Detailing.lsmo. On Facebook, I am DJ's Detailing and Automotive Revival, or DJ's Detailing.lsmo. And then for Advanced Nutrition, you can Advanced Nutrition on Facebook or on Instagram. If I can spell it. Yeah, we might just have to drop the tag in that.
Okay. That's fine. I can take that
All
part
right.
out.
Yeah, I'll drop the tags on that.
Okay.
I should have known that.
Well, cool. Well, thanks, dude.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, of
It was a
course.
pleasure. Glad I could
Absolutely.
finally get out here.
Yeah.